I'll try it now.
Okay, looks like we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to A Fistful of Dice. My name is Matt, and you are watching session 11 of the Provokers entitled The Troll Tunnels. We are very excited to be playing again so soon after the last session. No more 3-month waits for us, which is great. You'll also notice that we have live chat happening for the first time in a Provokers game. I will warn you right now that hopefully none of us will be trying to keep up with the chat because that'll be incredibly distracting for the game. So I know, for me personally, I'm only going to be looking at the chat during breaks or after the game. Otherwise, the chat is there for you guys to talk and interact with each other and discuss the game and just have fun. So enjoy the chat. Just know that we will not necessarily be looking at it. And then real quick, I want to give a quick plug to Absolute Tabletop's most recent PDF, The Wayward Wanderer, which is a supplement with material from the world of Aeronoth, which is the world that the Provokers are traipsing about in right now. The Wayward Wanderers is the roadhouse where they met and formed their adventuring party. The PDF has NPCs, adventure hooks, magic items, all sorts of cool stuff in it, and it's pay what you want right now. So if you want to get it for free, you can. There is a link down in the description that will take you to the Absolute Tabletop storefront where you can get the PDF right now, and let us know what you think, because we all worked really, really hard on it. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and introduce our players, and then we're going to jump right into it. So starting from my left to right, Barker, go ahead and introduce yourself and your character.
Hello, my name is Barker, and I run the channel Be a Better Game Master, and I am playing Dice, Aaron Dice Ellington, who's a wizard, and the order of the day for him is that he doesn't really have a staff. He's trying to figure out how to turn this shambled piece of wood into a staff and make it usable. So that's going to be something interesting for this session, I think. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in, as always.
All right, Nate.
Yeah, my name is Nate, and I am playing Erdon Saroshent, who is a wood elf from the Shade Vale, where we are currently hanging out, and have suffered suffered a little. Shade Vale has, and yeah, I think that's about all I have to say.
All right, Juice.
I am Juice, and from Tabletop Gaming with Juice, and I am playing Brasswick Feeblehammer. If you don't know who I am by now, go back and watch episode 1, and you'll learn real quick. And that's it.
All right, Tim.
Hey guys, I am Tim. I am 1/4 of Absolute Tabletop and 1/2 of Tabletop Terrors. And that's the useless math for the night. I'll be playing Durgan Bloodmountain, the paladin who's learning how to be a paladin and who right now has one goal, and it is to take the helmet of the Corruptor, which is affixed to his warhammer, Storm's Reach, and to put it back on the Corruptor's head via smashing his hammer into the Corruptor's face.
Awesome. And I just want to point out that, Tim, we are playing Dungeons & Dragons, so that will be far from the useless math of the night. All right. So, quick recap of what occurred last session. The Provokers left the hut of Abzan Shar Azur, the troll caretaker of the Boneyard. Dice received a rather troubling vision of events from his past and also things that have yet to come, some sort of grim portents, if you will. The Provokers decided to head back to Shade Vale with the information that they had gathered, which was that the Corruptor was once a man, and that he had somehow acquired a sword of a god, or a godlike entity at least. When they got back to Shade Vale, they found that the orcs of Skull Ridge had struck before they could return, and had put the city to the torch. Many elves and many orcs alike had died in the battle, but it looked like the orcs had emerged victorious. In fact, they found that the ruler of Shade Vale, Elmira Marrowblade, had died defending the city and buying time for her people to escape into the tunnels below Shade Vale. Eredon found that his father, who was a captive in Shade Vale, had been basically put into a fighting ring by the orcs that were stationed at Shade Vale, and one of the orcs there was Brokejaw, a character that was featured in the Orcs of Skull Ridge one-shot game. They defeated Brokejaw and his orcs and sent the rest of the orcs sort of fleeing into the woods. And when we left them, Dice had requested that one of the surviving elves send a message to Falhast. And that message was hold fast, the Provokers are coming. And that is where we will start our session today.
Awesome.
Dawn breaks over Shade Vale, and the smoke from the fires still rises over the tree line. A herald falcon, sort of a large bird, flies over the treetops. It winds its way through the arching bones of the old one. It's a sleek, fast bird. It's used by many cultures of Aranoth for secure message delivery. It's about the next best thing to a griffin as you're going to get for a creature in the air. The forest of Shade Vale sprawls for hundreds of leagues in either direction as this falcon takes flight with a scroll tied to its legs. It breaks the borders of Shade Vale, winding through the trees, and below it, legions of orcs march out of the forest, dirt pluming behind them. Their war drums beat a steady rhythm along with their booted feet. Blood-red banners flutter in the breeze, and at the head of this huge army, there's a large orc sitting atop a mastodon, clutching a spear with a black bone head. As the falcon flies past the orc army, an arrow whizzes past, but the falcon dodges it. It then winds its way past a flight of bat riders who grab their crossbows and send bolts after it. But none of the bolts find their mark as the falcon dive bombs to avoid the missiles. This is a bird that has been bred to carry messages through dangerous territory, and so it manages to survive. As day passes into night, the falcon flies eastward and across the peaks of the White Crags. As it does so, a stone giant, a creature that sort of looks like a boulder if it took humanoid shape. This stone giant looks skyward. It sees the falcon, a dark arrow flying through the frigid white clouds, and the stone giant says, "Carrying words of war," in a voice like rock grating against rock, and it sort of shakes its head disapprovingly. The bird flies through the night and passes over the logging village of Hummock. Shouts go up from the town as the people work quickly to build a wooden palisade around their perimeter. Men and women who have seen little battle beyond shooing goblins and wargs away from their borders are now preparing to defend their village with their very lives. Midday approaches and the falcon flies over Acheron, the gate city. A remnant of the Khazran Empire, Acheron served as a front door of that dominion, but now it's a ruin, like the rest of Khazran. It's a massive, crumbling stone archway with a little village that's sort of been built up around it. The village now serves as a makeshift barracks. An army is camping here. The auxiliary force of barbaric men and women of Gavalt and their ogre allies. Atop one of the towers of Acheron, an armored man with long graying hair stands, holding a massive ancient blade. A black-winged beast preens its feathers behind him. The man, known as the Corruptor, though his name used to be Arundel, narrows his pale blue eyes as the falcon continues its flight north through the broken pass towards the city of Falhast.
"Shall we shoot it down, my lord?"
A barbarian beside him asks, and he knocks an arrow. "No," the corruptor says. "Let Falhast have its hope. We will take that from them as well." As night falls on the second day of the Falcon's flight, it finally finds its way to Falhast, the city of 1,000 spires. It has a jagged, sawtooth skyline that is silhouetted as the sun sets behind it. The black expanse of the Sonageist Desert sprawls beyond Falhast for hundreds of miles. And there are corpses of Gavalt barbarians piled at the walls, the result of their first sort of probing assaults. A cry goes up from the walls, "Herald Falcon! Herald Falcon!" The Falcon lands on the ramparts, and a guardsman, garbed in crimson-studded leather, clutching a spear, takes the message. He gives the Falcon a bit of dried meat and rubs its head as thanks before setting off. He runs, shoving past the other guardsmen manning the wall, and finally finds his way to Captain Telmont, a bearded half-elf bedecked in plate, scanning the horizon beyond Falhast with his tired eyes. "Herald Falcon, Captain, carrying a message." Telmont, he takes the scroll without a word and unrolls it, scanning it quickly. "Hold fast, the Provokers are coming." He quirks a brow. What do you suppose that means? Beside him, a young girl with dirty blonde hair, clutching a crossbow, wearing armor too big for her, gets a strange look on her face. Something about that message seems very, very familiar to her. Okay, so the Herald Falcon has been sent off with its message, your message, Dice, and you're all now standing around piles of dead bodies. The elven prisoners have piled the orcs to burn, but the bodies of the elves will be buried, put into the ground as their ancestors were. The elvish prisoners are saying prayers to the Old One over these elves, and you four are standing over the body of Elmira. She's laying on the ground, her arms have been crossed, her eyes closed, and as much of the blood as could be wiped from her face has been done so, and so she looks almost serene now in death. And you all are free to act or speak as you wish.
There's a carving sound that all of you can hear, a shearing of wood. Dice is near, but you've been hearing this sound lately quite a bit as the bark, the final sliver of bark, gets removed from this new, just almost a haunch-looking bit of wood that's just now beginning to take some sort of shape.
I think I think Durgan would sort of approach Dice and, "Oh, it's fine work you're doing there." The obvious funeral small talk. "Are you about finished with it? At least the first pass there."
Dice looks worried immediately, as if to say, actually, you know what, he looks at Durgan, surprised, and you might tell from his face, like he didn't realize he was making too much noise until you approached him, and he immediately just sets the knife into his satchel and just kind of grips the staff and lowers himself slightly so that perhaps he can pretend that the people around him didn't hear or see.
And Durgan would, "You mind if I can I hold it? I just want to see your work here, lad." And Durgan would hold out his two paws, these bricks of mitts.
Dice says, "Durgan, funeral," and he kind of realizes, like, has a face of realization, like, "I'm sorry, I'm doing the wrong thing too."
"Oh, right. That's I don't do well with grief. I kind of kind of push it away with jokes and talking. It's but you're right.
But he slides the staff over to you subtly.
And Durgan would, as gently as you've ever seen, almost as though the staff is rolling in his fingers just ever so slightly. He's looking at this piece of wood with the same eyes as he would look with a finely carved piece of stone. And that's saying a lot. And he kind of inspects it. He looks. He kind of, pushes it out as though he knows what he's doing with the staff, and he certainly doesn't. Sort of rubs his fingers around what would be the top. And you see him just kind of thumbing it and eyeing it, and then he hands it back to you and he says, "It's beautiful work, lad."
So far, so good. How long do you think this will last? And he's looking at Durgan, but he's also looking at Erdon, who's on his left. That perhaps Erdon might know a little bit more information, being an elf. And Dice actually kind of prepares for some sort of scolding from Erdon.
Yeah, I would definitely give Dice a dirty look, and just kind of like, and Durgan for that matter, kind of, almost with my eyes telling them to shut up. And then I would approach the body a little closer. And yeah, Matt, can you describe, like, so is there silence right now? And what's the you might have already said this, but I missed it maybe. Yeah, how are people arranged here?
Like, there isn't so much silence. It's almost sort of a impromptu sort of de facto sort of funeral thing going on here, where it's like there are literally hundreds of bodies here. Some of them are orcs, some of them are elves, and the people who are arranging them are prisoners, people who are, they're basically convicts here in Shade Vale. And in fact, one of them, he's sort of the leader of these prisoners. He's the one that has been sort of ordering people around. He is an elf with you imagine that maybe at one point he was hit with a flask of alchemist fire, because one half of his face is just horrifically scarred, and his ear on that side looks like it was pretty much melted. It's just not even there anymore, and the hair doesn't really grow on that side of his head. And seeing Dice and Durgan sort of saying, "Hey, it's a funeral, we can't do this," he sort of drops an orc body onto the pile, and the orc body has entrails coming out of it from a slice across its gut, and he tosses it and wipes blood off of his hands and just kind of arches one of his brows, and he looks over at you and he says, "No need for any sort of reverence here. This is the aftermath of the battle. We're going to give these people the burials they deserve, but actions will speak louder than words in this instance. Feel free to go about your business."
And I would approach the body more closely, turn my back on my companions for a moment as I do so, and you would hear me. I would probably kneel and take one knee, and I mutter something under my breath with my eyes closed, gazing down for a moment, and I reopen them, and I turn back and walk to my companions, and my companions would definitely see anger in my eyes. My brow is furrowed, and my eyes are fierce. Determination. We know what we have to do. We should get some rest before we do so. And I would look at Dice, and I would I'm imagining, Dice, you can correct me, but your face is bruised and bloodied.
Oh yeah.
I'm definitely limping, and my neck is quite bruised. You can see the handprint.
One of Dice's eyes is just forced shut, like just from being pummeled. I mean, his cheekbone might actually be shattered or just busted up in some form. It's going to be a couple weeks before he is even remotely the same person he was before. But he recognized the word action coming from the person that you just spoke to. And he looks to you almost sternly without emotion and says, I heard that person say action is necessary. And Dice looks to the Provokers and says, we're all about that action, boss.
And I think Durgan would... I imagine that he's standing sort of in between at this point, Dice and Erdon. And what he would do is he would clasp both of their shoulders in that big brother way that's like, ow, cut it out, Ronnie. You know, like a little harder than he should. But when he does it, he's like, Titherian's blessings! And you see there's at least this reddish kind of warmth that shoots through your skin. And each of you get 5 hit points back through my lay on of hands.
Phenomenal. I'll take it. I'll run with it. I love it.
Yeah, so any wounds that were in that general area might look a little more scabbed over than just a moment ago.
And you all have actually completed a short rest at this point, so you can use as many of your hit dice as you want to regain hit points.
Okay.
And Dice, I believe you also have the arcane recovery feature as well.
I
for
do.
Short rests. This elf, the one with the burned face, his name is Weir, and Erdon, he sort of catches your arm as you're sort of walking away from the body, and he sort of draws close to you, and it's sort of this this strange sort of sight, seeing these two wood elves, generally considered to be fairly beautiful creatures with these horrifically scarred faces. And he brings his scarred face close to your scarred face, and he says, we owe Shade Vale very little. We'll see that these elves are buried, that these orcs are burned. And he says this, he spits on the ground. And we will see you and your friends to the tunnels. But then we are leaving. The orcs will return. And they will return fairly soon.
How long do we have?
He looks at Dice. Maybe a couple of hours at the most. They will regroup and strike again.
We should get going. Where's Brasswick?
Your other dwarven friend?
Yeah.
As he starts questioning where Brasswick is, Brasswick is actually nowhere to be found. He's not in the immediate area. He's just off by himself, praying to Ilmater. For the first time in these journeys, he really feels concerned about the outcome of the war. And so he's just having a moment without his friends seeing him and seeing the concern on his face, praying.
So I have a question for you, Matt. Is there any way that... So from where the matron is there any sort of... I'm trying to look for something that would be akin to like a thin chain or some sort of rope or something that would be either on her person or near her, because Durgan would want to try to swipe it.
Yeah, I'll say that she probably has a few pieces of jewelry on her. Nothing precious metals, but things made of wood and stone and bone. She would likely have a bracelet and several rings, maybe a necklace. Nothing that would get in the way of her in combat.
Okay, I wouldn't want to take anything that looks like it would mean something to her. So would there... Oh, did she have a bow? Like a long bow?
She didn't. She had a large sword of primordial bone but it's nowhere to be found. You assume it got swiped by the orcs.
I love the. I don't want to take anything that she'd really appreciate. Oh, does she have a longbow?
Does she have a +2 bow of orc slaying? No. Well, I was going to try to cut the string off of it.
She has. So she's wearing. It's basically heavy-duty studded leather, where the studs are made of bone. So there's all sorts of straps and things like that sort of holding all of that in place. So there are definitely bits of leather and string that you could take off of her.
What I would try to do is I would try to not look like I was defiling the body, but opishly with those brick sausage fingers. I feel like Durgan would sort of kneel next to the body, not making eye contact, and probably from like some sort of arm bracelet or, just casually sort of wrap his finger around the longest strand of leather he could find and sort of like snap it off. Mm-hmm. And then you would just hear him quietly whisper something, and then he would kind of stand up and, put the piece of leather strap in his pocket.
Yeah, no one stops you from doing it, and if you're even if you catch the eye of anyone, they're sort of too busy digging the graves and such to really care. So,
Aridon, do you want to lead the way? Like your companion said, excuse me, like your kin said, the orc should be back soon.
We better get going.
Bring it on.
I kind of do my normal nervous fidgeting with my gear, scabbard and pack, and then I kind of set off at a trot for the entrance to the troll tunnels.
We find Brasswick first.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, as you move off from that area, you do kind of spot Brasswick on his own doing his morning prayers.
Yeah, so I would just holler, "Hey, come on now. We need to get going."
Brasswick nods his head in agreement. I'm with you guys. I'm with you.
Hope you said enough prayers for us. And now I set off at a trot toward the entrance to the troll caves.
And the elf with the burned face, Weir, comes with you, and as you're sort of moving quickly through the smoldering ruins of Shade Vale, he's sort of giving you a briefing of sorts, Aridon. He's basically saying, I'll open the door long enough for you four to enter the tunnels, but we're sealing it behind you. It's very, very important that these trolls don't make it to the surface. You won't be able to open it from the inside. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand. And I kind of look around at my companions. My anger has been replaced by a bit of fear, perhaps.
No one has been down there for centuries. I'm not sure what you're going to find, but I hope you are successful in your mission. I honestly do.
We'll do what we can.
The rest of the captives and I are going to finish this burial. We're going to grab what we can, and we're setting off into the woods. We're going to give these orcs a fight as much as we can. Strike at them when and where we can, stealthily. We're going to try and harry their progress as much as possible.
Good. You do what you can, and we'll do our part.
Right. And at this point, you've come to a halt, sort of in the Hall of Bone, down a short flight of stairs, and you see Weir sort of reaches up between two pillars and yanks, and this stone door just opens up, and you just see this long descending tunnel in front of you, and this kind of foul-smelling air just kind of gusts out of it, and Weir sort of like brings his cloak up over his mouth as this just smell of rot and mildew just gusts out of this tunnel. And Weir kind of gives you a concerned look, and he puts a calloused hand on your shoulder, Erdon, and he says, "I hope we meet again, Erdon, son of Theris. Your father was a good man. It seems as though you are too."
Thank you. And at this point, you would probably feel actually my my knees have gone a little less steady at the look of the inside of the troll caves, and he might even feel a slight tremor as his hand hits my shoulder. My knees are almost buckling. I'm afraid for a number of reasons. Afraid for my sister. I'm afraid of the troll caves because they're known to be fierce and not a pleasant place to be. And I take one last look around at the open spaces, and I have a bit of fear of this enclosed area here. And I gulp and draw my bow and nock an arrow, and I nod to my companions. Maybe one of you should lead the way. And I kind of look at my bow and arrow like, it makes sense, right? Dwarfs?
Matt, how heavy is this door looking?
It is solid. Like it is not going to be liftable or movable except by the mechanism that is moving it, most likely. It's heavy and strong enough to keep trolls out. I'll just say that. Right.
Yeah. So it's, and Erdon, when you look over to Durgan and say dwarves, he oddly, it looks like he's got a hand axe, and it looks like he's sharpening it on a rock, this tiny little white rock, and these odd, like sparks and dust are just kind of, and he's kind of working. He's like, hold on, it'll just be a minute. Just wait, just one moment here, and he's kind of just doing this weird thing, and that is actually what Durgan's doing here for the time being.
Dice doesn't need to say, "Don't look at me," to lead the way, because no one is looking at him. This battered and bruised, just purple-faced so-called wizard.
And so I imagine my gaze, at least, and perhaps others, would turn to Brasswick.
So Brasswick, being kind of aloof, doesn't realize what's going on. And he's just kind of standing there and notices that everyone's head slowly turns towards him, except for Durgan. Durgan's fidgeting with something. And he kind of turns and looks to see if maybe somebody else came down with him. And he says, "I guess I'll have to do it." And I pull my shield off my back and ready it, get my axe ready. And I just say, "Erdon, point me in the direction to go."
And I would probably kind of look. My gaze would not be on you anymore. It would be ahead in the troll tunnels, and I would probably just, with my bow and arrow in my hand, just kind of bump him with my elbow as I'm looking ahead. There's only one way for now.
As Brasswick starts to walk, to the rest of the guys, it probably looks like I'm trying to be very cautious. But really, I'm just trying really hard not to wet myself because I'm a little afraid of what I'm going to see down here. Having no knowledge of any of this, I'm a little terrified.
Juice, can Dice roll like an insight check or something to see if he can tell you're afraid?
Go for it.
In total, that would be a 9.
You could probably tell. It won't take that much. I mean, if you're actively trying to figure it out.
Matt, are we able to walk two abreast, or is this narrow enough that we can't?
The tunnels are actually fairly large. They're tall and wide. You could probably fit 3 across the tunnel, 2 comfortably. Like, if you had 3 across in like a line, you don't feel comfortable swinging weapons or anything, but you could walk 2 by 2.
Well, then I might, seeing that Brasswick is a little bit frightened as well, might say, Durgan, get your armored butt up there. We need you heavy hitters up front. I have a bad feeling about this.
Aye, and he's just sort of like just whittling away. Has the door closed behind us yet?
No, the door is standing open, and Weir is sort of standing there with his hand sort of in the mechanism that's going to close the door, just waiting for everyone to step inside.
Gotcha. So Durgan would say, all right, fine. That's but he's still kind of hacking and chopping away at this weird white piece of rock, and these little dust specks are kind of flying. He's like, fine, I'll take the front. I'm not afraid. I'm busy.
So, it sounds like marching order is going to be Brasswick and Durgan in the front, with Eridon and Dice taking up the rear.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So, you four step into the tunnel, and it is just like unfathomably dark in this tunnel, and the light is behind you, and you see the silhouette of this tall elf standing there, and he says, "Good luck, you lot. Hope we meet again, and if not, I'll see you in the fields of bone." And he pulls the mechanism, and you hear the grating sound of the rock as the door is closing slowly and almost frustratingly slow. Like you're like, come on, just close the damn door and let's get this over with. But it's just slowly closing, and you see the sliver of light getting slimmer and slimmer, and then you're all left in just complete and utter darkness, waiting for your dark vision to take hold so that you can find your way down the path. And the door does a good job of sealing the tunnel sound-wise as well. And you all just sort of immediately get the sense of how close the air is in here, and how you don't feel any sort of breeze coming from down the tunnel. It's very still, it's very stuffy and musty, and that smell of rot and mildew and just garbage and refuse is just sort of hanging on the air, just hot and moist and heavy. It's very uncomfortable in this tunnel.
Hot and ready. It hangs on the air. Hot
ready.
and ready.
Just pepperoni sausage smell.
So
Hot and ready that's been sitting on the counter for 5 days in a college dorm room.
It's a lukewarm
$5.55.
lukewarm mediocre tunnels.
Yes, the lukewarm mediocre tunnels. They're $7 or they're $5 tunnels that smell like $7 tunnels.
I don't know if I like that smell.
I love that smell.
As your dark vision takes hold, you see that the tunnels are sort of overgrown with these black, sort of thorny plants. And for a second, looking at the silhouettes of these plants, you almost get the sense that there are spiders everywhere. But then you realize that it's just the way that these plants sort of grow out with their roots and their branches that make them look like spiders sort of sprawled on the walls waiting to strike at you. But looking around, you see that the floor is made of sort of cracked stone. At one point it may have been cobblestone, but it's so old and weathered and worn that it just looks like flat stone with cracks sort of running through it. And Eridon and Brasswick, both of you notice that there are tracks going through the dirt and the dust. You notice that there are many sort of slim humanoid tracks. Look like little boots and sandals sort of running through the dirt, most likely the elves that escaped into the tunnels while Elmira held off the orcs.
So Brasswick will kind of get down and just closely investigate the footprints to see how long maybe they were pressed in, and that way he can kind of gauge a sense of how far ahead they might be at this point. So I'll roll a survival check. 17.
Survival, please. Yep. 17?
Yes.
Awesome. So Brasswick, you actually are quite the little tracker, and you would probably catch Eridon a little off guard with this. But you kneel down, you look at these boots, and you see that the tracks are probably about half a day old.
Eridon, you could probably back me up on this, but it looks like about a half a day ago, they're ahead of us. So, or they left. So maybe we can speed this up and catch up with them in maybe about 12 hours.
We'll do our best. I'm hopeful we can catch them sooner, but yes, I think you're right about the time. Let's get moving.
Wait just a second. I've just finished. Listen, let's be honest. And he looks at Dice. He looks at you. Durgan does. He says, "A wizard with no staff is really no wizard." Here, and Durgan hands Dice this odd-looking little carved shape, and he just hands it to him, and he wants to see if you recognize it.
Can you describe it to me?
It would be like if an 8-year-old kid with a hatchet tried to carve something out of a rock. And that's about as good as it can get. And so I'm kind of setting you up to not know what it is.
Well, you're doing a really good job. It's perfect, man. You're such a method actor, Tim.
And Durgan, seeing that you really there's no chance, even if you got a natural 20. He goes, "Talmor, right? Aren't you from Talmor? I thought I've heard you say that before. It's a river bear."
Oh, Durgan. Yeah.
See? You see the little feet?
I do. I see the feet.
Oh, it's upside down.
I was gonna say, as you're looking at it, Dice, you realize that once you turn it right side up, you're like, oh, it does kind of look like a little river bear. Okay, yeah, I see the face.
Right,
yeah,
great.
okay.
I kind of give you, I give Durgan kind of this reassuring nod, like we'll put it on the refrigerator nod type of thing.
And as you do that, he says, "Can I see that staff again?"
Sure. It's not really a staff right now. It's more of a walking stick.
And so Durgan would take it and he'd say, "You know, I took this off a Brookjaw. It's not just a rock or a piece of wood. This here is a bone from Primordial." And Durgan would take it and set it on top of the staff. And you'd actually see, with one hand, he would unclasp the necklace that he holds the partial giant coin on. And he would let the giant coin sort of slide to the ground and thunk. And he would take that chain and he would carefully wrap this primordial bone river bear around the top of the staff. And then he would take Storm's Reach and like just a chubby little welder, he would touch the very tip of the chain so that it sort of and like seals. And then he hands it back to Dice and he says, "Try your stone now."
Wow. And and Dice will take the Ion Stone that he had, and he will place it on the tip of this staff, and he feels almost like this magnetism, like there's a gravity on the staff, and for a moment, it's like the Ion Stone is gonna start orbiting around it, but it definitely gets farther than it did before, but it kind of clink clink falls onto the floor, and Dice picks it up, but it's not a failure. Dice still, like, he pockets it, and he's like, "Oh man, okay, like I get it." But he looks to Durgan and says, I think it needs something else, and I think that thing is, I think I've yet to find it. But thank you."
Aye, it's a good start. And he clasps him on the back, and then...
Ow! Oh, ribs. Durgan, ribs.
You're made of glass, not ice.
Uh,
And you would see Durgan pick up the piece of the giant coin, and he would actually, with the leather, sort of strong leather that he took from the Matron Elmira, he would, instead of wearing the coin as a necklace, he actually loops it through the bottom ring of Storm's Reach. And so now there's this sort of like dangling giant's coin at the bottom of his hammer.
That was awesome. Thank you.
Hmm.
Tim, go ahead and take a point of inspiration. So, now that Dice has another bit of his staff, this ongoing sort of project, I assume you guys are continuing down the hallway. And as you do so, you see that what initially appeared to be sort of a natural cavern sort of begins to take more of a shape. And you dwarves in particular notice this, so Brasswick and Durgan. You see that this has less of a look of a natural cave and more of a look of a carved out cave that has been weathered for millennia. Like it has sort of been worn and weathered down back to a natural cave-like state. You can see the lines of the mortared stone. You can see the cobbles in the ground. And as you come around this corner, you actually see these ancient statuettes sort of lining the walls. And looking upon these statues, you see that they resemble a friend of yours. They look a lot like Obzon, or a relative of Obzon. They have a troll-like face, a troll-like countenance to them. But you see that these faces have been marred. It looks like some great beast has raked their claws across these faces and destroyed portions of them. And as you continue walking down and these faces sort of keep looming out of the darkness at you, you see that the faces take on more of a disfigured look as they become more and more weathered and destroyed, and you see that there are splashes of blood on them and bones hanging from them.
Erdon, you see this? This is why where I'm from in Bardoth, we have siege weapons. We don't live this close in proximity to monsters like this. We need to teach your people a thing or two when we're done here.
You're welcome to try. But right now we've only got what we have with us.
Yeah, you should have gotten rid of these a long time ago, though. That's all I'm saying. Brasswick's very assertive with how he says this because he just feels very uneasy. Unlike most dwarves, he's not real comfortable underground. In Bardoth, where he's from, it's partially subterranean, and he's from a district that's above ground. And he's used to the finer things in life. So this kind of grates on him a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And I would actually share that with Brasswick, that feeling, and say, they probably should be filled in, caved in, I don't know. You're right about that, but again, here we are.
How big are these claw marks that are on the statues?
They're the size of daggers, just huge raking claws. And if you sort of take a moment and like put your hand up, you see that the spread of these claws is 2 or 3 times the size of your hand, Brasswick.
Yeah, that terrifies Brasswick.
Dice will ask Erdon, or basically anybody within earshot, how old is this place?
And Erdon, you know that these tunnels were here when the elves got here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Older than my people's presence here. Very, very old.
And Dice would approach one of the claw marks or one of the blood stains, and he would, probably specifically the blood, and he would kind of look at it and examine it and try to guess how old it is.
The blood that you walk up to is a couple of hours old.
Provokers?
Aye.
What is it?
Dice will put his hand to the blood, and he'll pull it off, and he'll show his tacky, slightly red hand to his companions.
Oh, it's fresh, Erdon.
Well, that's not good. And I kind of start white knuckling my bow a little harder. We should get moving.
Aye.
Yeah, I agree. And Dice, and I like to think that Dice and Brasswick exchange a look, and they're both kind of like trembling a little bit, like, what did we get ourselves into?
Dice, I know what you mean. I am used to facing large creatures, and I know how difficult they can be. And without siege weapons, without more than just what we have, I'm not sure we can handle it.
Aye, you don't sound like a dwarf right now, boy.
Brasswick knows that, he's been getting more and more serious lately, and he turns to Durgan and he says, "We've been through a lot, man. I don't want to let you guys down. I mean, you guys have family involved, and we can't stand around talking. We got to catch up. We got to go. We got to save these people."
Aye. I'll race you.
Right.
Brasswick turns to Durgan again and he says, "Yeah, I'm toting around a shield and an axe. Look at you. You're light of foot. Come on. You're going to beat me, right?"
This warhammer's heavy, and my beard is like twice as thick as yours. That's got to be like 10 pounds.
Half of it's burned off.
And as we're talking, Durgan is sort of just walking through because Durgan's not quiet. If he tries to be quiet, his armor would be louder than him talking. So I feel like I would just sort of be clunking along, not trying to be loud, but also just, if I attract attention, I want the hit to come to me anyway.
Right. Yeah, and it is sort of loud, and as you're walking, just your voices and your footfalls are just kind of reverberating off these walls and echoing all the way down. And Erdon, you're used to being a little bit stealthier. You're sort of like almost cringing at the dwarves arguing in the front of the pack here.
Yeah. On your marks. You want to race? Get set. Let's go.
As we start to run, I use the handle of my axe to trip Durgan.
We're on the same team here. Come on.
I would totally not fully trip, but that run trip where you kind of. So now it's on. If there's anything around here, it sounds like the Dwarf Olympics.
Well, so Durgan, you stumble and you fall, and as you sort of catch yourself with your hand on the ground, you realize you've come into a room, and you hear crunching underneath you, and you lift your hand up and you see that you've kind of fallen into a pile of bones on the ground. And the bones are sort of gnawed on. They have teeth marks on them. And if you look around, you see that you've come into a room probably about 15 by 15 feet with a corridor leading off to your right, and there are bones sort of littering the ground, and there looks like there is sconces on the wall where torches used to be, but no longer.
Some big troll's dining room.
Aye. Look at all these bones. All right.
You could carve about 10,000 river bears out of this room, Durgan.
I might get a little better at it, huh? That thing looked like a mess.
No, it's good.
Looking around, Brasswick does not see any dwarven bones, and he turns to Durgan and he says, "You're right. Us dwarves don't need to be afraid. Look, none of us have been killed here."
None of your type have been here.
Hey, at least two of us have been here, right, Durgan?
Dwarf bones. Aye, and my bones won't lift to this ground.
I'll make sure of that.
So, do we trudge along? And Matt, would we notice anything in particular about this room that would keep us from kind of moving along?
Not really. It seems like the bones were sort of tossed here. There's no real blood or anything on the ground, so it seems like this isn't where anything fed, but it's just where the bones got discarded. And there is only one way to go, just the corridor off to your right. And anyone who sort of looks for the tracks in the ground sees that the elf tracks do lead off into that right corridor.
Gotcha. Let's keep it moving. And I think that, again, I would just walk, not trying to crunch the bones, but there's really not a lot Durgan can do.
Cool. I need dexterity saving throws from everyone.
All right.
It's
That's how you know it's good.
Nat 20 from the fat dwarf.
That's a
Nat
21.
4 from the skinny dwarf. I don't know.
I got an 11.
Wish I was a little bit taller. Wish I was a baller. Wish I had a.
So, as you step into the room, there's a crack, and dust falls from the ceiling. And Durgan and Dice both dive out of the way as a portion of the ceiling collapses inward, and rocks and debris just fall from the ceiling and bury Erdon and Brasswick.
Dice immediately runs to the pile, even as the rubble is still kind of falling. The bits of gravel and pebbles just begin spilling off to the sides, creating this scree along the sides of this tunnel. And he just begins digging through the rubble, trying to find his friends, find an arm or a hand or something.
Totally. And Durgan would, just because Durgan's a really strong dude, he would stand right next to Dice, and he would be picking up huge pieces and just heaving it just like he was on an assembly line, just as fast and as hard as he could, shouldering bigger rocks, pushing, grunting, just like an animal.
Yeah, after a few minutes of moving the rocks aside and you're working and dust is just coating your lungs, you both are coughing and sweating as you're moving these rocks aside. You do see Erdon and Brasswick sort of fighting their way through the rocks as well, and you manage to pull them out. But Brasswick and Erdon, you both take 12 bludgeoning damage from the rocks falling on you.
Ouch.
Wow. Who would we come upon first to help pull them out?
That's a good question. Why don't I let Erdon and Brasswick decide?
Wait, I don't get it.
Oh, we're trying to pull you out of the rubble.
I would assume since I was
first.
I would assume since I was completely oblivious, I probably was dead center and the first one to really take it. And because Erdon probably was a little bit more observant, he probably got partially out of the way, so he may be rescued first, probably.
Yeah, and I'm longer, so there's a better chance.
Yeah, so you do find Erdon first.
Yeah, you would probably see my boot. I'm imagining you find a boot that you recognize.
Yeah, and I would start pulling on it to pull your leg up, and then I would fall backward, and the boot would come off, and I would just kind of tumble down this little hill of rubble, and I'd get back up and drop the boot and come back up and pull your stinky foot out. As you slide out of the rubble, I would hand you your boot back. And I'd look to Durgan and say, "Find Brasswick."
Oh, I can't wait. And at this
I'm
point, Durgan is just shoving rocks aside. Sorry, go ahead, Nate.
No, it's good. I'm just coughing and sputtering, and I'm bloodied and just completely. Just completely covered in dust. So, go ahead.
Well, just as I'm, pulling the rocks off, I'm just, Brasswick, this means I win the race, and I'm just kind of finding and Brasswick, what part of you would I find first?
So you don't find me. I find you.
Right.
So you're looking for me, and you're throwing rocks aside. And as you're doing this, I kind of see an opportunity, and I'm thinking back to the time that you pulled me down some stairs, and the setup is there, right? You're like looking around, throwing stuff, and I'm like just under this one rock, and I push it and grab you by the black part of your beard, or the colored part of your beard, not blue, and I pull you down into the hole with me.
I think Durgan would sort of just fall. He just kind of. I don't think there's a dex save in order there. He's not dexterous enough. So now you take a D4 bludgeoning damage from my giant frame falling and crushing you.
As this is happening, Eridon, you're sort of standing there, you're coughing, you're bleeding, brushing yourself off. You see something move very quickly down that corridor, the one that you were heading towards, not the one that you just came from. And if you kind of look, there's nothing there, but it just looked like there was just out of the corner of your eye, out of your peripheral vision, a shadow just moved down the hall.
All right. Yeah, so I would immediately say, hey, get your wits about you, you oafs, come on.
And the instant you do that, I think that Durgan and Brasswick would, like, snap too. Like, I would grab both of his hands, and I feel like, Brasswick, if you're cool with it, like, we would both know, like, oh, okay. And I would pull him up and we'd just be ready within an instant.
Faux show.
And I would quickly probably have to go to the rubble pile and retrieve my bow from underneath where I was laying, and knock a new arrow, because that one, my previous one, is laying there snapped in half. I saw something that way.
All right,
The dice kind of snaps out of his deadpan face. He's just looking at Brasswick and Durgan like, do you ever stop? Ever. And he's just covered in dust, and he's having trouble breathing in this mess. But that's broken when Eridon says, I saw something, and he just saw what? And then Durgan says, let's go, and if you start moving, then dice will and just follow you forward, not knowing what awaits.
And
Right,
Durgan's ready. I'm following Eridon. Lead the way, lad.
Right, so at this point I'm maybe trying to be as quiet as possible. Walking, I put my boot back on first, and now I'm walking, treading very lightly, trying to move in the direction of the shadow that I just saw.
So you move down this corridor, and you see that the corridor goes for a few feet and then jogs off to the left. And as you continue down the corner, Eridon, you hear something from down this corridor, and it's not something that you can see. It's beyond your dark vision, but you just hear something whimpering. You hear like a crying sound, something like an injured animal almost down the hallway.
All right, then I guess I would probably relax a little bit as I keep moving toward it.
As you do so, you see a shape sort of huddled against the corner of this corridor, and it looks like a humanoid shape with kind of long dark hair, and it's just huddled in the corner, just whimpering and shaking.
You there? What's wrong? Who are you?
And the shape doesn't respond, but as you're speaking to it, you catch a few words in between the whimpering, and you just hear him say, They bled them dry. There's no blood left. There's none left.
Who bled who dry?
He just continues shaking and saying, They bled them dry. There's so much blood.
This is no use. I look to my companions.
Aye. Well, if there's any blood to be let, then we'll be the bloodletters now.
Now wait, maybe Dice will kind of kneel in front of this person and try to kind of get through to them. What does this person look like?
As you get close to the person, you see that it's very clearly a wood elf of Shade Vale, but they're battered and bruised, and their hair is matted with blood, and they're just shaking uncontrollably, just sort of huddled against the wall. And you see that the armor that this elf is wearing, he looks like he was a watcher. He was one of the rangers in charge of guarding the borders of Shade Vale. And as you get close to him, what do you say? And I'd also like you to make a diplomacy or what is it, persuasion check.
Good. Dice would say, hey, it's fine. It's fine. Hey, we're here, and you're not alone, and you're not going to be bled dry. And I rolled an 18 plus 2, so 20.
As you come forward and you soothe him, you see him turn, and he has a dagger in his hand. But as he sees you and he hears your words, he drops it from his hand and it clatters onto the stone floor, and he just begins sobbing uncontrollably and sort of kind of falls towards you, Dice.
And Dice would catch him, absolutely, and just, kind of embrace him while looking at his provoker friends. And he would look to them and ask, do any of you have, this is embarrassing, and he looks at his staff on the floor, says, do any of you have a copper piece?
Oh yeah, I've got silver, and Durgan flicks a silver coin, sort of clumsily at Dice.
And Dice catches it and throws it back and says, "No, it has to be copper. I'm not going to pay him for a drink."
Oh, yeah, I've got. Sorry.
Eridan looks to Brasswick. If
Brasswick pulls out a copper piece. He's like, "You're in luck today, friend. By the way, this reminds me of our time at the Wayward Wanderer." Flips it over to you.
He looks at the copper, nods to Brasswick, and he turns to this wood elf and he attempts to kind of focus his mind, and he puts his forehead to this wood elf's forehead as this wood elf is kind of embracing him. And excuse me. I initially learned the thoughts of the creature, what is most on his mind at the moment, and what do I hear? What do I see? What do I feel?
As you delve into this elf's mind, the thing that you first feel is just fear and panic and desperation, just very primal sort of carnal emotions sort of fill you and fill your head, Dice, and you're almost overcome with a fight or flight sort of instinct as these just brief feelings sort of flash through your mind. There's nothing specific or logical that this elf is thinking about. It's all just, I need to get away, I need to survive, everyone's dead.
Well, the copper pence is just burning in Dice's hand, just searing his skin as he just realizes this is not good enough, and he's just trying to probe deeper and deeper and try to just figure out everything he possibly can. And this wood elf, would need to make a wisdom saving throw. If it fails, I would gain insight into his reasoning.
Okay, what's the DC for that?
14.
Okay, so he fails. So his mind is just shattered and broken, and so you find it easy to delve deeper, even though you're almost hesitant to do so because of just the negative energy that is sort of spilling into your brain. But you delve deeper, and you get images. You get these brief flashes of blood and cutting, and you see a creature, just the most wretched creature you think you've ever seen, with flesh peeling back from these yellow, rotting teeth and these beady red eyes, and it just looks at you, and you see a hand of this creature dragging a blade across the throat of an elf and just draining all of the blood from it. And these images are just flashing through your mind, and then the link is broken as the elf sort of staggers backwards and grabs his dagger off the floor, saying, "No more, no more!"
No worries. No more. No more. Did I recognize that creature, or could I describe it to anyone else and maybe perhaps them recognize it?
It was very strange, but you almost got a feeling as though this was a troll of some kind. It sort of reminded you of Obzon in the Boneyard, but it wasn't. It was something twisted and different than Obzon.
I explained that to everyone, and I seem kind of spent.
The elf, by the way, his dagger is back in his hand, and he just kind of goes back to huddling against the wall. He says, "Please leave me alone. Leave me alone."
Yeah, okay. Okay.
He's not safe here, but I think we should honor his wish and keep moving.
Aye.
You want to follow with us?
The elf doesn't really respond. He just keeps saying, "Please leave me alone. Just leave me alone. I don't want to see anymore. Leave me alone."
Aye, let's leave him be.
Aye.
We can't just leave him here. He'll die.
Not if we get to the trolls first.
Dice would like to cast sleep on him
You do so.
as just a subtle mercy.
What does that look like?
He's repeating to himself, "I don't want to see anymore. I don't want to see anymore. I don't want to see. I don't." And he just falls into a slumber and kind of keels over a little bit onto the floor, still alive but asleep. And I look to the others and I just say, "Small mercy."
Dice, is there a chance he could have nightmares?
Small mercy.
And Durgan sort of lets out a Ugh. And he, with one hand, just picks up the elf and hefts him over his shoulder.
Well, let's remember he is an elf, so I give him about 2 more minutes.
Yeah, the sleep spell won't last for long against one of elf blood.
Aye. And if anything else, we'll use him as bait if he's whimpering and screaming.
I hope you're joking. And Erdon just kind of trots off.
Brasswick. Oh, never mind. Sorry.
And Durgan would answer. He'd go, "I'm not saying we'll let him get hurt. Bait goes in what? A trap. We're the trap. Nothing will happen. Except if I can get one of those bloodthirsty fiends to think that they're going to have an easy meal. Perhaps we can knock its head clean off before he realizes that the Provokers are on his doorstep."
Fair enough. We'll keep our options open. And yeah.
So do you all continue on?
Aye.
I do.
So you continue down the hall, and Durgan, you have this elf over your shoulder. He seems content for now, but as you continue moving down the hall, he sort of starts to whimper as the sleep spell begins to wear off, but he's not quite awake yet. But you come around the corner of a corridor, and you see that the corridor is again opening into another room. And as you come around the corner, you hear what sounds like clinking chains. And as you come around the corner and you look in this room, you see what look like corpses hanging upside down from the ceiling from chains. And you see that there are these stone basins set underneath them. And the basins are filled with liquid.
I would probably move slowly up to one of the basins and can I tell if the liquid is clear, if it's what color it is?
So as you move into the room, you see that the bodies, there's about 5 or 6 of them. There's 4 elves, 2 orcs, hanging upside down by these chains, and you see that their throats have been cut, just slit wide open, and the basins underneath them are filled with blood.
Brasswick, feeling like this is a waste of life, or killing, tries not to stare and proceeds to look around the outer edges of the room and tells Erdan, don't focus too much on the bodies. Keep pressing forward.
And I would, yeah, kind of snap out of it, like as I'm looking at this this basin full of blood. And you're right. We should keep things moving here.
What races are the people hanging upside down?
There's
Are they elves?
4 elves and 2 orcs.
I'm not sure exactly where we are, but I think we have a neutral party in your war, Erdan.
I think you're right. And Matt, what would I don't know if you want me to roll for this or not. What would I know of the blood trolls?
Mostly what you would know is like bedtime stories and like around the fire scary stories. It's said that the blood trolls basically drain you of all of your blood, and you know as a kid that if you misbehaved, one of the things that the older elves in the village would say is, if you don't behave yourself, a blood troll's going to come and it's going to suck all your blood out, and then what will you do? You can't misbehave without blood, basically. And so that they're called blood trolls because of this habit of draining their victims of all their blood, and you have no idea what they use this blood for, why they would be collecting it, but for you, it's like all of a sudden just realizing, oh, that scary story that I heard when I was a kid, like, it's true. Like, these things are real. It's like the boogeyman of the elves, basically.
Okay. Yep. So I imagine I wouldn't know specifically, if this is some kind of a ritual or anything like that, but it is fitting at least somewhat into the mold of what I do know of the blood trolls. Okay.
And I should mention too that there is the hallway that you guys entered, and then there's 3 hallways, 1 on each wall of this room. So 1 to the left, 1 to the right, and 1 ahead of you, and the bodies are in between these 3 corridors.
Okay. We do need to keep moving here. This doesn't bode well. Which way do you think, boys? I'm leaning toward the left, but what do you think?
Is there any blood trails, like, going in any of the directions or anything?
There's not blood trails, but if one of you wants to give me a survival check, you can continue tracking the elven footprints.
Erdan, I summon you over, and I say, can you tell which direction the perpetrator has went?
Yeah, so I would kneel down and try to look carefully at any tracks I see. Try to determine which is freshest.
Okay, so give me a survival check.
That is a 20.
Yeah, so there's a lot of sort of stirring of the dust and the dirt in this room. It looks like creatures have been coming and going, but you do zero in on these elven footprints, and you see that they're leading off to the left. However, as you find this out, Erdan, you hear something moving from the right corridor behind you. Sounds like shuffling feet.
my interest would definitely be more in that, and I would say, do you hear that?
I've got an unorthodox idea. Do you see which way the tracks are going?
Yes.
I can't tell, so which way?
To the left.
Okay, so this blood, it's important, right? It's what they want. So we can start tipping these basins and keep whatever these things are in the other corridors busy if you go the other way, maybe with dice. Maybe we split the party.
I love it. I always love splitting the party. No.
What could go wrong?
That is a great idea, Durgan. Dwarf high five. Minus the high five.
Oh, but
I don't
seriously, should we tip the basins? Because it'll at least keep them busy.
I agree. And I say we all tip them together and we all head in the same direction together.
What if they have more captive, though, and this just means they need to drain more quickly? I don't know if that's a good idea. We don't have time to talk about it, though.
How much, Matt, what are these basins made out of, and how hard would it be to tip them?
They're made of they're made of stone, and they are pretty heavy, but I mean, one good shove from one of you would tip it over. But as you're sitting here arguing, you hear the shuffling getting louder, and you hear something huge breathing.
All right, then I would probably quickly just try to kick the nearest one over, and then I would ready my bow and just kind of wait there.
And Durgan would shuffle to the one closest to the third corridor and just heave it. And I don't mean he tips it. I mean he wants this thing to take flight and just... So he just like...
Okay, what about Dice and Brasswick? What are you guys doing?
Dice would help Durgan.
Brasswick would probably just stand back against a wall because he doesn't think he believes in tipping the blood altars over.
So you each tip one of these basins over. One of them covered in the red blood of elves. The other one covered or filled with the black blood of orcs. And the black and the red sort of mingle in the ground as it spills onto the floor and immediately sort of fills the space and sops your boots with this blood. And then coming around the corner, Dice, you recognize it as the thing that you saw in this vision that you saw from this elf. You see just this grotesque creature come around the corner, this hulking, almost ape-like thing. Its skin is sort of this mottled red, and you see these bony, stony protrusions sort of piercing through its skin. It almost looks like it's sort of like its bones are growing out through its skin, and you see these lips just peeled back from its teeth. And it comes shuffling forward, and you see its red, beady eyes fall on the pools of blood, and it just lets loose with this animalistic howl and charges. We're going to go ahead and roll for initiative.
And Matt, when I was back against the wall, I was kind of trying to stay back so that I could get a jump on it, but kind of letting you rule on that if I could.
Yeah, I'll say since you were the only one that wasn't tipping over a basin, you would be the most prepared as this troll comes around the corner. So I'll say you get to act before the regular initiative takes place. So what would you like to do first?
I rolled a crit anyway, so that's good, I guess. I'm hoping he'll run past me. And I'm assuming he's probably like, what, 20 feet tall or so?
He's not quite that tall. He's probably about 12 feet tall, super hunched over.
Okay.
So I'm going to try and zoom in on this.
I would like to climb up his back, grabbing like bones and stuff if I can, and trying to get up on his shoulder area, because it looks like that might be an advantageous place to get to if I can.
Yeah, so go ahead and give me a, let's see, an athletics check for the grapple, because that's basically what you're trying to do.
Oh my gosh, I did a double crit. So
Ew.
20 again. It's these D&D starter set dice.
Man, they're the best. Okay, 1 second. Let me do the opposed.
I don't know if you guys can see it.
Yeah, you're on this thing's back, Brasswick.
All right. So it's assumed that my shield is on the ground then as I climbed up his back. And then my axe, I'm just going to try and, if I can still, just come down on the back of his head while holding on to one of these exposed bones that's protruding from his skin.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and make your attack.
Crit again? No, I'm just kidding. Actually,
I was going to say, Juice, get out of here.
I did pretty well. I rolled an 18 on the die. So 22.
22 is a hit.
And 5 points. So I kind of just start hacking away, and I, take a chunk of skin off if I can.
Yeah, and this
Like
creature
flakes
just
off or something.
howls as your axe bites into it, and this thing stinks, Brasswick. Like, that sort of rot and mildew smell that is emanating in the tunnels here, like, that's troll. You sort of realize now, oh, that's what trolls smell like. Okay.
Stale pepperoni.
Yeah, stale pepperoni, hot and ready, that's been sitting in a dorm room for 6 hours. So, okay, so that was Brasswick's surprise round and action. I'm looking at initiative right now. So Nate, go ahead and roll initiative for me. Damn, okay. So, initiative is going Brasswick, Erdon, Durgan, and Dice. Okay, so that was Brasswick. So, Erdon. So the floor is just pooled with blood. This troll has entered the room, and Brasswick has immediately, brave Brasswick, has immediately jumped on the back of a creature that he has never seen before, and he's just like, dude, screw it. I'm jumping on this thing. So he's on the creature's back. So, Erdon, what would you like to do?
Okay, so wait, Brasswick's on the back?
Yeah, Brasswick's
Okay.
on this thing's back, yeah.
Sorry, I dropped out for a second there, so I
Oh,
don't know
no
if
worries, dude. I was catching you up.
Okay. Yeah, so I've got my bow out, and I'm just going to try to, you know what? No, actually, I would notice that this thing is pretty heavily armored, and I would probably drop my bow and pull my sword. And I'm going to charge at it. I'm going for the head, and I just am kind of flying through the air. Let's see here.
Awesome.
Go to attack. That would be... Alright, so I have 2 attacks. The first one is an 11 to hit, and the second one is a 15 to hit.
The 15 hits. The 11 does not.
Yep. And, that would be 9 slashing damage. So I imagine my blade bites in somewhere on this thing's heavily armored head.
Yeah, you managed to slip past the sort of bony protrusions, just shredding this thing's skin, and your blade finds purchase. Its skin is rubbery. It's just like, it doesn't feel like you're cutting through flesh. It feels like you sort of have you remember that Obzon sort of had this feel of like plant matter, like he felt like a vine feels, and that's sort of how this blood troll feels as well. Okay, so Tim stepped away for a second, so we're going to go ahead and pass the turn to Dice and then come back to Durgan. So Dice, you're up.
Well, we were tipping over this vat of blood, and when this beast walked in, and Dice just drops his side, and blood just sprays over him, like when you tip over, like when you tip a glass of water and then you right it immediately, and water spills out. And is just covered in it, but it's like not even a thing. His eyes are wide as dinner plates as he looks at this blood troll. And without even thinking, Dice immediately reaches into his pouch, pulls out a fistful of something, and you see this ice just begin covering his body like armor. And he will attempt to move to kind of the side of this room, out of the way of this thing, and also in maybe perhaps gaining a vantage point where he could strike and not hit Brasswick.
Very cool. So what does Mage Armor put your AC up to?
15.
Perfect. Okay. So Tim is still gone. So it's the troll's turn. So this troll, this feral blood troll, it continues moving into the room. It's sort of hoof-like feet sloshing through just the pool of congealed orc and elf blood, and Brasswick is sort of swinging from this thing's back, but Eridon is immediately in its sights. And Eridon, you remember in Obzon's hut, you remember seeing wisdom in that creature's eyes. You remember seeing kindness, almost. But there is none of that in this creature's eyes. There is only malice and hatred and just unbridled rage as this thing steps forward and hefts what looks like a club made of skulls and discarded weapons, and it brings the club down with a roar. The club slams into your shoulder, dealing 11 bludgeoning damage and almost bringing you to your knees with the weight of it. And then this troll, like screaming out as Brasswick bites into it with his axe, it reaches back with its long ape-like arm and tries to dislodge the dwarf on its back. Brasswick, could you give me an opposed athletics check, please?
That'd be 5, Matt.
5, okay. So this thing rolled a 14. It grabs you, Brasswick, and throws you down into the pool of blood. And the pool of blood is almost deep enough as you land face first. Your face goes right into the pool of blood at the bottom of this room, and blood just splashes up and splatters across the walls as he throws the dwarf into it, and continues battling with Eridon. Okay, so Tim is back. We're going to loop back to Durgan. So Durgan, we skipped your turn, but now you get to go. So Dice has cast Mage Armor. Eridon has just been hit with a club, and Brasswick has been thrown off of the thing's back.
Okay. So I think Durgan would immediately sense, especially just feeling the evil. I mean, the blood, the murder, and now the malice in this creature's eyes, as I imagine it sort of. And so Durgan would whisper these dwarven words, these words that almost come to him, that perhaps fill his mouth partially through his deity. And this sort of, and you see this red sort of glow. It would be almost the opposite of blood. What would be the opposite of the death and the blood? It would just be this radiant light coming from his hammer. And Durgan just jumps. He does not throw Storm's Reach. He just jumps and comes down as hard as he can using Divine Smite. So
Very
that
cool.
basically what it is I use a regular weapon attack, and then I can use radiant damage to add to it.
Okay, great.
So let's see if I hit. Okay. Modified 21.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, it's going to be a little while here because I got all kinds of cool bonuses. Lightning damage. 14.
Just say 97, Tim. Just say 97.
No.
What would
16.
be great? What would be great is after rolling all that is you're like 4.
4. All right, guys. Modified 4. No, it's 16.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's quite a bit of damage on this thing. I imagine that as the hammer comes down, you actually break off some of these black bones that are sticking through this thing's skin.
Oh, yeah.
And the lightning kind of arcs through it, and you all smell like cooked old, hot, and ready as the lightning sort of sears this thing's flesh. Okay, so that was Durgan. The troll went. So we're going back to Brasswick. So Brasswick, you've just been dislodged from this thing's back. You're laying in a puddle of blood. What do you want to do?
So I'm looking down at this marbleized pool of blood under me, the red and black swirls. And I get up, kind of looking over my shoulder real quick. And I start running at this thing, just enraged. And real quick question. Could I get a sense for how strong this creature is when he hurled me off his back?
Absolutely. When he hurled you, when he reached back and grabbed you, he definitely felt strong, but not stronger than his size would suggest. Basically,
Okay.
he's only strong because he's huge, not because he works out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Cool.
Okay, so then as I'm running back, though, I want to grab my shield and try to slide on my shield under his legs, hacking at the back of his knee with my axe. I know, that's a lot.
No, dude, I'm not even going to make you roll for that. I'm just going to have you do a regular attack and say that that's what you did, because that's awesome.
All right. That is an 18 on the die.
Yeah, that hits.
Or not on the die, but 18. Alrighty. So as I slide through, I'm on like my left leg, and I'm using my left hand to hold the edge of the shield and kind of steer it. And I swing the axe in the back of his knee for 2 points of damage.
Oh. So you barely nicked him, but you did something cool, so.
You mean that didn't hamstring him?
He's dead. 2 damage. He's gone. No, that was great, Brasswick.
That was awesome.
All right. That brings us to Erdon.
Right. So I kind of, now that I'm closer to him, first of all, I'm wincing in pain, and I've kind of, as soon as I was hit, I kind of rolled to the side, and I'm dodging and trying to keep moving here, but I'm noticing that his chest and belly are less heavily armored. So this time, I'm going to kind of lunge in and thrust upward with my blade, trying to get him in the chest.
Okay, great.
Oh, one went way down there. Oh, it was a 9. Okay, so that would be a 14 and a 18 to hit.
The 18 hits.
Okay. And for 7 damage.
Okay. Great. Yeah, you slice into this thing with your black scimitar of mammoth tusk, and sort of this black viscous blood pools, adds to the pool of blood at the bottom of the floor.
Yeah.
Okay. Durgan, you're up.
All right, so at this point, after the Divine Smite, I think that I would sort of be under it, right? I mean, or at least squaring off, sort of.
Yeah.
So I think what I would do is I would probably try to I would take the coin that's at the bottom of my hammer, and on that leather tassel as it is, I would wrap it around my hand so that it is now sort of this like brass knuckle on the front of my fist with that giant coin and a hammer in my hand. So I'd present the holy symbol as I just hold Storm's Reach up to this thing's face. And you just hear this deep prayer. And it's just, you almost see a red faint light coming through Durgan's eyes. Something that you haven't seen really. You know, he's kind of coming into this paladin thing. And as he speaks, it's almost as though Tritherian's speaking in the periphery. And he just says, "You will fall and die in the blood of the innocent that you have hurt. And I am abjuring the enemy," which basically means that This creature has to make a Wisdom saving throw, and my spell save is a 15, or the creature is frightened, unless they're immune to such sort of effects.
Okay, so it, let's see, wisdom. Okay, so you said 15?
Yeah.
Okay, it got a 16.
Ah. Not afraid of no dwarf.
He has a -1 wisdom, but I rolled a 17 on the die, so.
Nice.
So you sort of you do this, Durgan, and the troll sort of shakes its head, sort of shaking off the magical effects of this abjuration, and sort of centers on you as the threat now.
And Durgan's a little disappointed because he really is kind of like trying. He's trying to be this pinnacle of retribution, and he keeps failing. So you could just sort of say like, like I guess it's back to fisticuffs.
Yeah. Okay. You want to move or do anything else, Durgan, or are you just going to stay put?
Stay put.
All right, you got it. All right, Dice, you're up, buddy.
Dice is still staring at this creature as this armor covers him, and for a moment his mind wanders to his childhood, and he actually, for just an instant, gets swallowed in this past, and he sees his father, and his father has a skinned deer, and he's standing in front of it, and his father is kind of stabbing it with this dagger, and the point is that he tells Aaron, we're all made of the same stuff, and he stabs the deer again, and he says, you see, we're all made of meat. And Dice runs immediately after snapping out of this, runs to the side of this room, and assuming there's some like scree on the side, maybe some rubble. Would that be?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Great. He grabs a handful of the dust, and he says, Doratus et Sibum, and he throws the dust at the floor, and it spreads like soil along the floor. Only as it's hitting, it's turning into ice. And the entire floor, as he casts Sleet Storm, turns into the slick surface, and you see this massive, almost cylindrical storm begin forming as he's holding his hands out. His staff falls on the floor. He looks at it and notes it for a second to remind himself not to forget this one. And
Never again.
Never again. And basically the ground is covered in this slick ice. Everything is now difficult terrain except for you see anyone on the floor, any one of my companions, you'll see the ice sculpt itself around you as Dice is focusing on it not affecting you. He's sculpting the spell in that way.
Perfect. Okay, so what do I need to make a save here for the Sleet Storm?
No, not right now. When a creature enters the spell's area for the first time on a turn or starts its turn there, it makes the dex save.
Cool. Perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
And I imagine, too, that the blood on the floor is freezing as well and sort of creating this weird sort of red and black sort of ice skating rink almost.
Absolutely.
That's
awesome.
Badass, dude. Okay. That was Dice. Troll time. So... Erdon and Durgan and Brasswick, you're sort of all circling the troll, sort of circling around the troll, taking nicks at it and stabs at it when you can. You see the troll sort of, and you see some of the wounds start stitching up, sort of sealing themselves up, leaving behind just this callous scar tissue as the troll regenerates. You see that the more grievous of the wounds remains, but some of the small nicks and bruises start closing up and healing as the troll just wills itself to just remain alive. And it swings its club in a wide arc, making 2 attacks to try and catch Durgan and Brasswick, sort of sliding it low along the floor, trying to catch the dwarves. Okay. Durgan, it gets you for 8 bludgeoning damage. Just slamming into your side, and Brasswick sort of ducks underneath it.
So, did you get my message too that I have regeneration? I meant to tell you that before we started.
No, you definitely don't.
A little bit of troll blood, just a little bit.
Yeah,
troll
just
blood
a little
in me.
bit. And then Erdon, the troll sort of hunches lower and snaps forward almost imperceptibly fast and tries to catch you with its jagged, rotting teeth. But you manage to bring up your shield, and the teeth just kind of scrape across it as the troll tries to take a bite out of you.
Mm-hmm.
And as the combat is sort of continuing and you're circling around it, the troll is swinging its club, Dice is throwing spells, the bodies on their chains are just swinging, and so there's just sort of this weird sort of shadows playing across the wall as the bodies are swinging on their chains, dripping blood on the floor, and the troll is just kind of stomping through the room, swinging its club. Okay, that brings us back around to Brasswick.
Seeing him heal himself is what I think he just did. I yell out to everybody, "He healed himself! He's magical!" And I swing my axe again, aiming for that leg around that knee joint area. 14.
Not quite enough. Your axe kind of slams into the bones and doesn't cut through the flesh. All right. Anything else, Brasswick?
Yeah, well, and when he does this, he kind of has a flashback to a time back at his home of Bardoth when he first left, and he encountered a frost giant. And he just remembers that he kept trying to attack it and kept hitting it, but couldn't break the skin because it had bone along the side that was from all these things that it had killed, mostly dwarves. And in doing this, he remembers how he had to flee because there was just no chance on his own he could ever take down that frost giant.
Okay. Erdon.
So as this thing has kind of swept its club across, trying to stay low to the ground where the dwarves are, I imagine as he kind of as it comes to a slow in one direction, I am actually going to try to I'm going to use disarming here, which is one of my martial adept maneuvers, and I'm going to actually, for the sake of flavor, and if you want me to roll for it, I can, but I'm actually going to try to jump on his club, just kind of, do my nimble elven thing, up on his club and slash at his hand to try to disarm him, make him drop the club.
Yeah, man, just go for it. Make a basic attack.
Okay. Oh, so I got 2 attacks, and that's awesome. 21 and 23.
Both hit. Go ahead and roll for damage.
I get to add. Okay. Yep. Let's see here. 2d8. 6, 14. Add my superiority die, which is 16. Okay, let me just make sure I'm doing this right here. Oh, he has to make a strength check too, but that's 16 damage, and then he gets to make a strength saving throw, and the DC is 14.
Okay, he makes it.
Okay. So I didn't disarm him, but I did, what did I say? 16 damage?
You actually...
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. 14. I didn't do my math right.
Just say 97.
That's 20 damage.
20 damage? And that's
Yeah.
both attacks?
Yeah, that's both attacks. Total.
Okay. So you don't disarm him, but you do disarm him. You slice downward with your razor-sharp scimitar, and this thing's arm falls into the blood, and you fall with it as you dismember the troll. And blood spurts from the stump where you lop the arm off, and the troll lets loose with a wail as the arm drops onto the floor.
Sweet. Yeah, so I imagine I would kind of, right as the club hits the ground, I just kind of spring back and jump back to my the clear spot in the ice storm.
Awesome. Take a point of inspiration. That's badass.
Thanks.
Okay. Durgan. So one of this thing's arms has just been lopped off.
I certainly would try to hit the bleeding stump, just like whack-a-mole style, looking for a bone. Like, I see that thing has been gored, and I just want to swing with all of my might and just take that bone straight up through the shoulder.
Okay. Go for it.
All right, here. So now I have 2 attacks. If it's okay with you, I was going to try to roll the first one and see if it hits or misses to kind of flavor the second one.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so 13, first one.
Does not hit.
All right, so I think that, the thing's arm is flailing and blood is spurting everywhere and probably sprays onto me as I'm trying to hit it. And I just glancing blow onto some of the rubble that's still on its elbow. But I try to swing back with that coin, just sort of flavoring it. It's still a hammer hit, but I'm really trying to just sort of do this punch where the coin and the head of the hammer hit at the same time. Just 17?
17 hits.
Sweet.
Good job.
So that's lightning damage. 15 total.
15 damage total. Okay, great. Yeah, so you slam into this thing and you see more of the bony protrusions just shatter and you rend some of the flesh underneath with the sheer force of that blow, and as the jagged edges of the Corruptor's helmet just kind of slice into it. All right. Dice.
Okay, so first off, I'm maintaining my concentration for this creature, for the spell. Excuse me,
the
the
sleet
ice
storm.
spell.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sleet storm. And I'm wondering, because this is the first time I think I'm ever going to do this. Is it possible for me to cast other spells while I'm concentrating on this one?
Yes, you just cannot cast another concentration spell. You can only have one concentration spell going at a time.
Okay, cool. And I totally spaced on telling you that he should make his save.
Yep, I totally forgot. So let's do that now.
Okay, cool. That's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so it's a Dex, you said?
Dex save 14.
Dex save 14. It does not make it.
Awesome. So I should probably know exactly what happens. It falls prone, right?
I don't know. It takes like 100 damage. I don't know.
97.
Okay.
97 damage, lightning damage.
No, okay, so it falls prone.
It falls prone. Okay, great. So I'll go ahead and take note of that. It doesn't take any damage, though?
No, it just falls prone.
Okay, cool.
And I will fire. What's happening is that this cold energy is just blasting at the floor, and these icicles begin to form on the floor, and they just take off towards this creature. These magic missiles made of ice or whatever. I say made of ice or whatever.
They're made of ice or whatever. I don't know.
Because it's not really ice, you know.
They're made of ice or hot dogs. I don't really know.
Hot dogs. It could be made out
hot
of
dog
blood.
magic missile.
Hot dog.
Dinosaur lasagna. Hot dog magic missile.
Bones sticking out.
Dude, this thing has bones just sticking out.
It does. It does.
Dude.
Okay, cool.
Who's got the bun spell?
All right, I got the girl going. Who's got the brats?
So 5 of these darts fly out of the ground, which would be 8.
Dude, awesome flavor on that spell, man. That's great.
Thanks, man. And that's 9 points of damage for the magic missiles, which is lame, but it is what it is.
So this thing, it topples on this ice and pretty much just gets impaled by these icicles as they sort of shoot up out of the ground. And as it falls and these things just jut up through, this thing just and breathes one final breath. However, everyone please make just a flat, like intelligence or any knowledge check for me.
All right. That's my jam.
Critical hit!
Damn, Jews.
Arcana or history or just
Yeah,
intelligence?
either one works.
Okay, cool. So,
I'm such a dumb elf.
14 for history.
14 for history. All right. Okay, so as this thing falls, Brasswick, ever since you saw this thing heal up and you said, "Oh, it's magic," the gears in your head have kind of been turning, and you remember stories about how back when the feral trolls were more of a problem, that there used to be a saying that you don't go troll hunting without a torch, and that became sort of a little bit of an idiom for don't go anywhere unprepared. You know, you don't go troll hunting without a torch. But sort of as you're thinking about this, you realize if we don't set this thing on fire, it's going to come back to life. It's just going to regenerate and stand back up.
Guys, the magic that is in this being will bring it back if we don't torch it. Somebody, Dice, I know we can. You've got something that can catch this thing on fire. Well, maybe not you, Dice.
Do you do fire, lad?
Do we still have an alchemist fire?
I believe you used 3 of them last session, so there's 1 left.
I
I'm
have.
mistaken.
I was gonna say I have. Durgan had 2, and I used 1.
Yeah.
But I think Durgan would say, I think we might want to wait and see if there's any more.
What about your lightning rod? I mean, can you use that to spark a fire with something else, like some clothes or?
I've never tried. Sure, I could try.
Guys, we should kill it. Hurry.
So I'll take some of my common clothes. I pull them out of my bag real quick, and I say, "Here, I don't need these."
So I take them, and I take a torch out of my bag, and I wrap them around my torch.
You have a torch.
Aye, we all have
Wait,
torches.
what are you doing? Give me my clothes
They
back.
came in our starter packs when we created our characters, you guys.
Oh, that's right, the engineers packs.
I don't have torches.
And then I would seriously put the hammer on the clothes and the torch and just just trying to get that lightning.
Yeah, and you light the torch.
And Brasswick's clothes.
And Brasswick's
And I
common
just-
clothes.
No, I took them back. once I saw
Oh,
the
did
torch.
you?
Yeah,
I don't.
that dumb.
They're on
you gave me
fire,
a
bro.
shirt and pants.
Oh wait,
You
I
gave
am
me a
that
shirt
dumb.
and pants. You maybe grabbed one. Which would you rather, the shirt or the pants?
Oh, the shirt, dude.
Well, the pants are blazing, and I think that Durgan would stick the torch right in the thing's mouth, just as hard
Yeah.
and fast as he could.
And the thing goes up. It's like it's made of dried leaves. There must be something on this thing that makes it flammable, because as soon as you touch the fire to it, it just goes up, and the room is just filled with this just horrific smell. And you're all sort of blinded as it catches fire, and your dark vision snaps off as the troll goes up. And I need everyone to make a Constitution saving throw to not just throw up from the smell.
How does that smell, by the way?
It smells like a burned hot and ready, dude.
Smells like a hot dog magic missile.
It smells like a too hot and ready. Hot dog magic
I,
missile.
I posted that in the chat. I said tonight only the Wayward Wanderer menu is hot dog magic missile and dinosaur lasagna. And
Check it
Michael
out.
Costa said, if Matt adds that, I will buy a second copy.
Sweet. All right. Okay, so poor Brasswick, everyone else manages to kind of get their hands over their mouth and nose, but you just take a lungful of this horrific smoke and you kind of start retching in the corner. That's a good retching sound. Oh my god, don't make yourself really throw up.
He is committed.
Damn, dude. As this is happening, 1 second. Erdon, you're standing there. Something grabs your leg. like just like a vice. And you look down and you see that the severed arm has grabbed your leg and is sort of pulling you down.
Okay. Yeah, so I would start freaking out. Where's that torch?
And the torch, Durgan's trying to pull the torch out of the thing's mouth, which is like locked around it. I'm like, oh, do you have those pants? Do you have that shirt still, Brasswick?
So I would probably be furiously hacking at this thing, but I imagine it's not letting go. It's got a grip.
Yeah, it's like a vice-like grip, and you stab down into it, and you're hacking at it, but even as you're sort of just making mincemeat of it, like the claws are still just digging in.
So Durgan works the torch free, and just sort of doesn't think. He actually tosses it to Erdon. Do you catch it, Erdon?
No. No, it would probably hit me because I'm too busy hacking this thing. So the torch hits me, and as I feel like this, I would probably quickly, try to pick it up as it's on the ground near me, I'll say, and then I just would drive it into the arm in a searing manner, not really trying to light it on fire, but actually trying to drive this thing, even maybe risking snuffing it out.
Yeah, you drive the torch into this thing, and as it sears it, you feel it sort of let go as it goes up in flames, and it's just thrashing almost like a dying snake or something, just thrashing in the pool of blood and the ice as it burns, and then eventually it just shrivels up and curls up like a burned plant on the ground.
Cool.
So Dice will stop focusing.
I'm okay, guys.
Oh, go ahead, Juice.
No, he was finally getting that last little bit out, and he's like on all fours, and he kind of just looks up and is like, "What just happened?"
And Dice stops focusing on the spell and is just breathing quite heavily, and looking towards Erdon to see what the fuss is about.
We forgot to burn the arm, and I would kind of be down on my, probably down on one knee in the blood of the room, kind of nursing my leg and seeing how bad the damage is there.
Yeah, there's definitely some claw marks on your leg, but it's nothing that you can't quickly patch up.
Yeah.
And in fact, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break here. Bathroom break, get food, water break. I'm going to say 5 minutes, and then we'll be right back.
Cool.
Sounds good.
Alrighty, so sit tight, everybody. We'll be right back.
All right. Go Hawks.
Go blue.
Hey guys, this is Stargazer67. I just hacked into this chat to tell you guys that AbsoluteTabletop.com is stupid, and they give away their stuff for free, and it's very dumb of them. And if you want to go and get a bunch of free stuff like an idiot, you can go to www.absolutetabletop.com and get the Wayward Wanderer thing for free because they're stupid. Okay, peace out.
Everybody, looks like I'm the only one back here. Anyone have a good name for a silver-colored heroin-like drug for a one-shot? Slag, Quicksilver, Silver Dust. What about Mercury too? Mercury. I like Quicksilver though. I do like Quicksilver. The only reason I thought of Mercury is because I broke a thermometer the other day. Hey, Barker.
Hello.
I was just talking to myself here.
Good. Good.
I just ate a pierogi. My wife brought me a pierogi.
Ooh, nice.
It was so good.
Mm.
I
That is
scarfed
awesome.
it.
Barker, how the Seahawks doing?
It's a close game. The Packers are ahead by a touchdown and an extra point, so they're ahead by 7. It looks like they're slightly ahead in terms of momentum, but it's still one possession. It's definitely a close game.
Yep.
Packers defense is stepping up nicely. Oh, sports! It's Sunday, so now our Provokers breaks are sports talk with the Provokers.
Exactly. I think it's pretty cool that we're going head-to-head with a football game and we have 83 viewers.
We're going head-to-head with the Emmys, too, which probably...
What?
Yeah.
Dude, everybody watches the Emmys. I couldn't even say that with a straight face.
What was the... Did you make a joke? No, that was the MTV Music Awards you made a joke of.
I did. No, I said I had a People's Choice Award and a Kids' Choice Award is what I had.
I don't know why that's making me laugh so hard right now.
Just the idea of me just getting a People's Choice Award, like what for? It's like I just got one. I don't know. Like they gave it to me. I don't really know.
They had a camera crew in my living room.
Yeah.
Oh goodness gracious!
Sorry,
Matt,
guys.
where was the
I had-
pierogi from?
It was from this place at the South Center Mall called Pierogi.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Dude,
It was a beef and onion pierogi, and it was delicious.
Dude, we go to that crepe kiosk in the South Center Mall.
Oh, yeah,
every
dude.
time we're up there. Oh man,
Mm-hmm.
I cannot eat a whole one.
No, they're huge, man.
So, I just need to apologize it took me so long. My wife thought I was really throwing up down here, so I had to explain to her that I was fine.
Well, dude, those were like the most realistic retching like you were doing. I was like, Juice, you're making me nauseous, dude. I'm gonna throw up.
Done.
Dude, you sound like an orc dying in Warcraft 2.
It doesn't even bother me.
That's
Like,
what
I know,
they do when they die. Dude, how do you do that and not actually throw up? How do you
Dude,
do that without
don't know.
initiating your gag reflex?
I don't know. I've
Dude,
always
that's a
been able
skill.
to do it.
That's a talent.
It is. Maybe I learned it when I was trying to fake sick for school.
Dude, maybe you were. Like, you're like, Mom, I need to stay home from school. She's like, are you sick? You're like, "Eh." She's like, oh my God, no, just stop. Just stay home from school. That's fine. All right, I'm going to look at the chat really quick. Dare I?
Do it up, man. I've got the game center on NFL.com in the background, letting me know what's going on. So it's you're giving me a little bit of time to be a fan.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm fully committed to the Provokers.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that.
You sons of bitches.
And I appreciate everyone who's watching. We're sitting tight at about 80 viewers. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
And the chat is hopping, man. I'm glad that you guys are enjoying the live chat.
I do want to say, that is really impressive that we have 80 viewers. I don't even think 80 people watch my videos anymore. So all of you 80 people need to go watch my videos every now and then.
All of you, go over and check out Tabletop Game with Juice, man. Just do it. All right.
Cool.
We all good to continue, guys?
Let's do it big.
All right. So the only sounds in the room are the clanking of the chains as the bodies sway back and forth, and the sort of smoldering, crinkling sound of the troll slowly just charring.
Dice picks up his staff.
Good job.
If it weren't for I can't remember who, someone said it in the chat, and I was like, oh crap, yeah.
My staff.
Dice,
I
go
wasn't
ahead and
going to
take
let
a
you
point of
forget because I
inspiration.
saw that too in the chat.
All right. So that noise that we originally heard, or I'm sorry, no, the noise that we heard was the troll. The footprints that we saw freshest to the left, I would kind of be remembered. Right, that way. Yeah, we need to go that way, and I would point in that direction.
I agree, and I continue to think that we should follow you, Erden. You have keen senses down here.
Fair enough. And
my mind's as bad as a cursed umbrella.
A what?
Nothing. Go ahead, Erden.
Right. So I walk forward, light of foot in that direction, ready for what we find next.
Yeah, so
what,
you can...
What about our friend? Sorry, what about our wood elf friend? And I looked at Durgan.
Oh, yeah, and Durgan sort of dropped him at the start of the combat, and he's sort of coming to as you guys are standing there.
You'd see Durgan look around like he dropped something, like his pencil. Be like, see, and Barker, I set you up to say what? Now, but Durgan does. He's like, "Oh, I set him here somewhere," and he's like looking under the basins.
Where was he, Matt?
What's that?
Where was the elf?
He's sort of slumped against the wall, just sort of sitting like on the ice. The ice sort of grew up around him, and he's sort of coming to, and just sort of looking around, confused. And as his eyes fall upon the dead, smoldering troll, he sort of and backs up against the wall, sort of panicking.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Can you walk?
And he looks at you, Dice, and you see that he looks a little bit... there's more intelligence in his eyes now. He's looking at you. He's not looking past you anymore. He actually looks at you in the eye. And he's like, I think so.
Good. Yeah, good. We're going to get you out of here. And I know we're going to get you out of here because we're going to get us out of here, right? And I looked to everyone else to check.
Aye.
See?
Yes,
Right.
yes. We're getting out of here.
So stick with us, and we'll get out of here.
Brasswick writes some notes in the back of the Tome of Elmater about the trolls and lighting them on fire and to cover your face when you light them on fire because of the stench. And he tells this guy and pulls out his extra clothes for this wood elf. I don't think they're going to fit you very well, but if we come across another troll, you might need some of this to cover your face.
Thank you. Who who are you? Who are all of you? And he looks to Erdon. You wear the armor of a watcher. Who are you?
My name is Erdon Seroshent, or you may know me as Erdon Swifthand, but anyway, we need to find Mere Stonegaze, and we need to continue. This part of the world is in great peril, and we are some of many others who are trying to take care of the problems. Were you above ground when the orcs struck?
Yes, seems like so long ago. But yes, I was. I was on duty when they fell upon us, and I went down below when Matron Elmira ordered us to. Does she live? Does the matron live?
No. No.
Then all is lost.
Is Mir Stonegaze still alive? Was he here with you? How did you get separated from the others?
Last I saw, Amir was still alive. He sent, we got, trapped in a large room a few hours' walk from here. He sent me and 4 others out to try and find a way out of the tunnels. But we were waylaid by those creatures. I just managed to barely escape.
We'll reunite you with your kin. With our kin. We need to get going. Can you walk with us?
Yes,
You're not safe here alone.
Yes, I think so. I think so. And he stands up, and you see that resolve sort of takes over his face. And he says, I am sorry. I do not know what came over me earlier. I didn't feel like myself. Seeing the things I saw, seeing my comrades killed like that. And you see he's sort of very purposefully not looking at the bodies hanging from the ceiling. And he says, I couldn't deal with it.
It's not easy. I would look around, Matt, and would I see any... do any of the elves or orcs, for that matter, have weapons that were nearby on their bodies or on the ground?
Yeah, it looks like one of the elves still has a long sword in its scabbard, and the orcs, you see that the orcs each have a dagger sort of stuffed in their boots. But other than that, it looks like everyone else went for their weapons and got them knocked out of their hands or something like that because they're not with them.
Okay. So I would go over to one of the, well, probably the long sword, and I would remove it from the scabbard. I would say, here, do you know how to use this?
Of course. He almost seems upset. He says, of course I do. I am a watcher of Shade Vale. I know how to use blade and bow.
A watcher. Excellent. What's your name?
My name is Kinnet.
Kinnet. Good. Here. And I hand him the sword.
And
Let's be on our way, shall we?
He takes it, and you see that his hands are still shaking, but he holds the sword tight, and he sort of puts it into his belt and says, yes, I am with you. I will try to keep my wits about me as best I can.
And I would actually put my hand on his shoulder and I would say, if Mir lives, there is still hope for our kind. And if he doesn't, there may be other reasons to hope.
Yes, well, Mir was alive when I left. And he had the young girl with him. The girl who knows the way. She's
the girl who knows the way?
Yes.
What?
She's a young elf girl, and she has access to the old magics. She's been able to help us down here.
Matt, would I know whether my sister has any magic ability, or...
Not that you know of.
Okay.
This would be
So
news to you.
Yeah, so I would probably not think much of it. But I would... excuse me. But I would ask, is there is there a young elf named Larawise? Do you remember that name?
Yes.
I know there are many of our...
Yes, that was her name. She was the daughter of Theris the Traitor, Theris Trollfriend.
That was her. Well, and I would just kind of look a little bit bewildered at this. Knows the way. Okay.
Yes. Mir says she is the future of our people. For it's been many generations since one of us has been born. Who knows the way?
I am just kind of flabbergasted. And I'm just shaking my head, being very introspective right now. All right. We must find her. Let's serve our people. And let's hope it's not the last time.
Yes, I am with you, Eredon Swifthand.
And I would, I guess, set off in that direction.
Down that left corridor.
Yep.
Is there anything that the rest of you would like to do during or after this exchange before you leave the room? I saw Brasswick, you want to take the 2 orc daggers.
Yeah, Brasswick will take the 2 orc daggers, and it's not even like he really wants them, but in a disposable moment, he can just throw them and leave them behind at a moment's notice.
Yeah, you got it. You take them.
Dice will grab another handful of that dust from the side, from the scree, and just put it in this bag that's just covered in dust and blood and just everything.
Okay, great.
Durgan would kick the troll.
Ash plumes up.
Just like... In fact, would I be able to take the torch?
The torch is pretty much burned out at this point. It's basically like a little nub because it was burning along with the troll.
Okay. So Durgan chews on it like a cigar. No, I'm kidding. He leaves the torch.
Thought you were going to say, I'm going to tie it to Storm's Reach.
That's another thing I'm going to tie on there. No.
I'm gonna be like a teenage girl with phone charms on this on Storm's Reach.
I'm trying to collect everything from the blood caves, guys. Please understand.
Awesome.
Phone charms.
That's just how I imagine it. Like he's got a little Hello Kitty and a little frog just dangling off the Storm's Reach.
Totally.
No, I love it. I love doing stuff like that with items. So, all right. So you all continue down this left corridor, and the light from the smoldering troll fades, and soon enough your dark vision again takes effect, and you see the world in black and white once more. You continue for a while down this hallway, and as you're walking down this corridor, you see that along with the faded and disfigured troll faces, those sort of what's the word I'm looking for? The sort of can't think of the
totems?
Word. No, what is it? It's like when it's just the head and shoulders of a person, a statue. Bust. Thank you. They're basically troll busts, but they've been sort of disfigured and stuff like that. In addition to those, as you're walking, you see that there's sort of this relief on the wall, this sort of mural almost, and it's covered in dust and cobwebs. But if you sort of move them aside, you see that they're sort of these crude carvings that depict the trolls, and it looks like the carving sort of depicts the trolls on the surface, and you see that there are dragons in the sky, or what look like dragons. They're these great winged beasts, and you see the trolls as you move down the hallway and the mural continues. The trolls are going down into the earth, and once you continue moving down the hallway, there's a depiction of a great city under the earth, and you see that the trolls are living down here, and you see that on the surface the dragons are still up above, still burning the world, and the trolls are underground. But then you see that at a certain point in this mural, it gets scratched out again, much like those troll busts were, and there's dirt and blood and all manner of, horrible things just splattered across this mural, and it's just indiscernible after that.
That was awesome, Matt.
Oh,
That was
thank
really
you.
great.
And in fact, if anyone wants to do a history check, they can.
Yeah, I was gonna say Brasswick kind of goes up and kind of is touching it and looking at it, trying to figure out if this is like an omen, or like a prophecy or what.
Mm-hmm.
And for my history, I got a 17.
17. Anyone else rolling?
Yeah, Dice did, and basically the same thing, just trying to read like it's a timeline, to read the mural, and you got a 19.
A 19. Okay. So Brasswick, you're thinking back to what you learned at your temple and your teachings in history, and you remember that there have been basically 2 instances of dragons creating mass destruction. The most recent one was 2,000 years ago during the Great Scorching and the fall of the Khazran Empire, and the effects of that event can still be felt in the scorched farmlands and the toppled ruins. You can see the effects of the Great Scorching, but millennia ago, long, long, long ago, when the dragons were plentiful in the skies, that is what this is depicting. You're looking at it and you think, I bet that's what this is. And Dice, you're thinking about that too, and you're looking at this and you see the trolls, moving down into the earth, and you think, what if they found something down here? What if the trolls who fled to escape the dragons, who went under the earth, like, what if they lost their connection to the way? What if they were cut off from whatever it is that made Obzon a creature of wisdom?
So, does anybody know what this is? I mean, it's gorgeous, but it looks like an ancient fairy tale.
Well, clearly, Durgan, it's from before the Great Scorching. A couple thousand years ago.
Hi, that's real, eh?
Of course it is. I've studied it a little bit. I'm a little fuzzy on it, but yeah, it's real.
I've heard about it, but I didn't know how powerful the dragons were. It's far before my time. I feel like there were probably some, but I've always felt like it was exaggerated.
I don't know. I haven't seen one myself. They can't be that powerful. They're not around anymore, right?
Aye, but our buddy Caldor from the Wayward Wanderer, right? He punched one in the face.
Well, you guys are talking about dragons. I would be kind of thinking back on the vision I had in the troll's hut. I'm even going to see if I can say his name here. Abzan Shar Azul.
Abzan Shar Azur. You almost got it, man. I was like, oh! Them troll names,
I'm gonna
man.
practice that. I'm going to be like George W. Bush, practicing foreign leaders' names. All right.
Yes.
Nuclear.
Yeah. And Erdon, you make that conclusion easily because you're looking at these dragons and you're looking at them sort of torching the world and the trolls sort of escaping down underground, and you think that was definitely a portion of your vision. You remember that image of the woman with that sword sort of directing the dragons to kill the primordial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I'm just I'm lost in that vision a little bit, and just picturing that dragon even, and sense of dread a little bit.
And Barker, I don't know if you missed what I told you from your history check.
I'm pretty sure I heard every single thing, and then right when I started responding, everything went dead.
Okay, cool. So yeah, you can respond as you will now.
Great. Basically, I would recall stories about species, all kinds of species that went underground and went almost insane. I've heard of the Durgar. I've heard of the Drow, Dice doesn't even believe they exist. That's just a story that he used to tell Holly to keep her out of the woods and out of caves and stuff like that. But he's seen evidence of the Durgar in his expeditions into Bullywug locations near Talmor, scouting expeditions and things like that. And he would turn to everyone and kind of mention the Durgar went bad. The Drow, if you believe they exist, went bad. What about the trolls? What about the trolls if after coming underground, they just lose it?
Aye. It makes sense. I know one thing that's real, and that's the Duergar. And they've lost it. So it makes perfectly good reasoning that these things have just become a part of that slime, a part of that vile evil.
It does make sense.
It also means we need to be extra careful down here, because that means that nothing we find down here will be anything like what we'd find up in the surface.
Aye.
I would turn to Kennett, and I would ask him, do you remember how many you saw? I mean, I know these aren't memories you want to revisit, but do you have any memory of numbers, how many there might have been?
And when you say his name, you notice he was sort of looking at the mural and sort of lost in it as well. And you say his name, and he says, I'm sorry, what? Ask your question again? I'm sorry.
The numbers. Do you remember how many of these things there were?
Oh, how many of the blood trolls?
Yes.
I can't be sure. Some of them had 3 arms, and some of them had 2 heads. There was one. There was a very large troll, and I think he had 3 or 4 arms, and one of his heads was dead. It was rotted, hanging there like a skull.
And I like to think that as he's telling the story, he's just getting lost in his memories and maybe looking at the floor and the ceiling, and then when he finishes it, it's like a skull. He looks up, and he might see all of us just staring at him like,
yeah, what the hell are you talking about? Yeah.
Yeah.
And he says, I know. It sounds crazy, but the trolls, they aren't like other creatures the way I understand it. They regrow things that they've lost. They adapt to whatever situation they're in. If one were to be down here for millennia, who knows what sort of vile image it would take.
Aye.
So to tell you, I don't know how many there were, but there were too many. Too many.
I think one is too many.
I agree with you.
Aye.
But you killed one. You 4 killed one.
And I look to Brasswick and say, yeah, and jumped on its back. Crazy.
Sorry, I always get carried away when I sense danger. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
No, it was stupid. Did you see how it hurled me across the floor? Oh, I need to smarten up.
You jumped on its back. You're either the bravest or the stupidest dwarf I've ever met. Maybe both.
I'm the most faithful. I believe Ilmater will get me through the day.
Ilmater. Oh. Right. One of your gods. Well, if it's...
The god.
The gods are all dead, my friend. They used to walk the earth, but Erdon can tell you, they're dead now.
How can you say that? I wasn't born with magic. I don't know magic. Ilmater blesses me with these gifts. They don't just come from nowhere.
However you think your magic comes to you is how it comes to you. It's not for me to tell you otherwise.
So be it.
Can we,
I turn to Kinnit and I would say, you might change your tune if you experience his healing touch. You make a good point. We don't know where it comes from, but you do well to keep your criticisms to yourself if you want to feel that touch.
Fair enough. I understand.
Oh man.
Sorry.
I know. Sorry.
I need to see it. Hang on.
Let's take a 1 minute break.
First, I
Oh,
thought you
that's
guys were laughing
amazing.
about the healing touch, but
I see it.
That was the funniest comment I've ever seen.
Oh, that's
in the chat.
wonderful.
I'm dying.
It just keeps getting me and getting me. Okay.
Oh.
Oh my god. Okay. We're gonna continue. I'm so sorry. Alright. So, Kinnit basically says, he's looking at the mural and he says, he says, can we move on? I've seen enough here.
of course, we should.
And he almost like takes off, like taking the lead almost, like just kind of shouldering past you guys and continuing in the hallway.
Guys, I sense our future is very dark.
Luckily, we have dark vision. Dice says a stupid joke.
And loses a point of inspiration.
I don't have one to lose. Booyah!
Okay, alright.
But he does actually look to Erdon, almost in anticipation of the decision that Erdon's going to make.
What decision?
He's waiting on you to make a decision as to what we're doing.
Oh, okay.
Where we're
Well, Kinnit has taken off. I'm going to let him take the lead. He's been down here longer. Seems to have his wits about him now. So I would follow him. Said, let's go.
Okay, so he continues down the corridor, not at a breakneck pace. You guys easily catch up to him, and you walk for probably another 20, 30 minutes, and then the corridor opens up into a large circular room. Has sort of a spherical dome shape to it, and there's 3 hallways coming off of it. One of them looks like it's collapsed in. The other 2 look like they go for a while. And Kinnit just kind of walks into the room and he's looking around, and there's dust and cobwebs in all of the corners. There's some sort of rubble here and there in the room, and he steps into the room and he says, "Okay, well, which way do we go? Which way do we go?" And Erdon, too late, you see a glisten just kind of catching in your dark vision, and you see Kinnett just step into that glisten, and you hear and there's a moment of silence, and Kinnett looks back, and you just see he has this look on his face like, oh shit. And from out of the wall, hooks on chains shoot out, and two of them go through Kinnett and just completely impale him, and he's dead before he hits the ground.
Mama, no!
Whoa!
The sword clatters to the ground, and there's just a spray of blood as these huge, just barbed chains just shoot right through him.
Dice immediately begins to like run forward, and I don't know, maybe Durgan or someone. I mean, it's obviously not safe for Dice to run forward. Would anybody stop him from doing that?
I would actually try to run with you, so that, like, trying to hold you back, but running up with you, just with some sort of healing spell ready. Like, I would immediately just use. I would actually burn through a spell. You know, genuinely, I would do a probably just because. Yeah, probably just do lay on hands. Like, at least 5 solid points. Just
on me?
No, I would be trying to hold you back while we're running because you're way faster than me. And, like, you're dragging me along by the arm, my right arm, and my left arm. I've got the spell ready, trying to just save the last flame of life in Kinnett's eyes.
Oh, I see. On Kinnett. I thought you were trying to heal me. Okay.
No, I'm, like, holding you, like, whoa. Like, there's hooks that can rip your face off, and then I try to, like, touch his gut, you know, and I'm, like, pushing in his intestines and trying to, like, seal them with a lay-on of hands. Just 5 measly hit points that just get, like, drowned in blood.
See, Dice has heard this ability that some wizards are known to have, just called the sight, or called sight, and he used it on this person using that copper piece. And there's just a bond that's immediately formed with a person when that happens. And, I mean, it's almost like he just saw his own cousin get cut down. But when you try to hold him back, he gets held back. He realizes this is stupid, but it's his eyes are wide and furious.
What about Aaron?
Braswick, seeing
What are
this,
you guys doing?
drops to his knees like, oh my gosh, what the hell did I just see? Seeing this man's life basically taken before him.
Yeah, and I would probably kind of just stumble back against the wall. And I imagine for a moment I'd even drop my own sword, and I almost kind of like slump back against the wall, just in shock.
And the chains then, after they've sort of shot through him, they...
Oh! Is he dead?
Oh, he's
I wanna-
super duper dead.
Yeah, so then as long as he's dead within the last minute, I can revivify him. I can totally screw your game up, DM.
No, dude. What does Revivify do?
You touch a creature that has died within the last minute. That creature returns to life with 1 hit point. This spell can't return to life a creature that has died of old age, nor can it restore any missing body parts.
Oh, okay. Because the chains yank back after they've shot through him and just rip him into 3 pieces.
He's not worth saving.
You remember that Revivify you had, Jude?
Yeah, sorry.
And
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I just imagine Brasswick like, wait, I can save him, and then he's everywhere now, and Brasswick's like,
Now, quick.
And then I dropped to my knees.
Now, Revivify. I don't know how this works for clerics, but it requires diamonds worth 300 gold.
Yes.
D&D question, honest D&D question. Now, does Brathwick's Tome of Ilmater work in the same way as a staff does, where you don't have to have that 300 gold?
Actually, and that's not how a staff works. Staff, an arcane focus, gets rid of any material components that do not cost gold.
Oh, okay, all right.
So for instance, if you were to cast Stone Skin, you would still need to have that money to be able to do it.
Cool.
And I don't think Brathwick is sitting.
I've never played that way. Yeah, I've never even tried that.
Yeah,
I need to look at my materials a little better then.
It keeps some of the higher level spells from just getting super spammed because they actually the materials cost money. So yeah, the Kinnit just gets. I mean, he's not even recognizable as a person anymore. These giant chains that were essentially, half the size of him, just ripped through him and then yanked back into their holes and just ripped him to pieces.
No!
Really wish I hadn't figured out his name and gotten to know him. Yeah, so I'm just kind of slumped against the wall in shock. What are you guys who rushed up there?
Yeah, I would say that I was like, as Durgan was like pushing the entrails in, clearly trying to just this trying to he's holding the entrails, and then as the hooks he lets go like this, and then you just see the hooks like so Durgan is right there.
Okay.
Yeah, and you sort of get splattered with it.
Yeah.
So I guess at some point I would just kind of pick myself up, and I'm shaken. I felt like this could have been a little brother. And I get up and I say, okay, how can we make sure that doesn't happen again?
And Dice will actually start looking around, maybe see if he can see something that Kinnit might have stepped on.
It looks like he stepped through a thin wire, and you actually see it, Dice. It's a metal wire just sort of strung across the room, and it looks like he sort of stepped into it and triggered that trap.
Okay, great. But it's still there. It's still taut.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Okay. And I would point that out to the rest of the provokers and say, I think we need to be light of foot.
Right.
Durgan would look at Dice like he just asked him to be elf of race. Okay, I'll do my best. Either that or I go first.
Kinnit was careless. We just need to be careful.
Aye.
We do, and I am not familiar with this area. But, Durgan, you're not very aware of your surroundings, are you?
No, this is all foreign to me. The stonework, even. It looks like it should be familiar, but was just too old. It's almost like it predates my understanding of how this should work and how it should have been carved.
Then I think Eridon and I should probably lead.
Right. That's good. Let's keep moving. And I kind of take one last look behind me at the remains of Kinnit and say, no time for a proper burial. Maybe we'll have time later. And I walk forward carefully.
And Eridon, as you do, your foot actually knocks against two little objects on the ground, and as you look down, you see that it looks like two little cubes that fell out of Kennett's pocket. And if you reach down and grab them, it's two six-sided bone dice. And instead of numbers on them, they have elvish characters on them, sort of elvish runes sort of carved into the bone of the dice.
Yeah, I would pick those up and say, dice.
Yeah.
No, that's not what I meant. Yeah, it's some dice.
But what? And actually, Dice would take a keen interest in the dice that you had found.
Yeah, and thank you for smacking that softball out of the park for me. I was setting you up for it.
I thought you were calling my character's name, so...
No, yeah, so I would hand them to you, Dice, and say, have a look.
Are the inscriptions numbers, or what can I tell by looking at this?
Yeah, the elvish characters are numbers. It's just 1 through 6, but in these elvish sort of spidery looking flowing characters.
And he kind of like shakes them in his hand a little bit. How are the weight? Are they good? Are they in poor condition?
They feel like very well made dice. And like I said, they've sort of been carved from knuckle bones, and it's hard to tell what kind of animal they may have come from, but they're very well made dice. They're also very well worn. It looks like they've been rolled quite a bit.
The Dice kind of flashes back, and he sees some soldiers sitting around a table, and they're eating their food, and Dice's hands are freezing, and as just like they've done, these soldiers, just like they've done almost every single evening after supper, they say, "Hey, Dice!" calling for these gambling tools that they'll use to have some fun. And Aaron walks over there and just sets some dice on the table and sits down and grabs a mug of something. And one of the guys says, "Ellington, you're getting pretty quick at that. You're going to start thinking Dice is your actual name." And everyone kind of laughs. And Dice kind of is holding these bone dice in his hand, and he says, "Would you mind if I kept these, Erdon?"
It's fine. Yeah. Someday perhaps we'll roll some dice together.
I don't think you have enough money to lose to me. Excuse me. And he puts them in his pocket.
All right. Let's keep moving then. Anything else useful that we can... Nah, I wouldn't bother looking. Never mind. I was going to say anything else we could find on the body, but no, I'm not wanting to spend too much time with that.
Yeah, and aside from the sword and the dice, you don't notice anything else with a cursory glance. So there are 3 corridors. One of them is collapsed. The other 2 aren't. So do you want to give me a survival check to try and continue tracking the elves?
Yeah. Yep, I'll do that. Oh, it's terrible. That's an 8.
So with all of the blood sort of sprayed across this room, you actually can't really tell where the tracks are leading, Erdon.
All right. I guess we pick a direction here. I can't make sense of this. Any thoughts?
I don't know.
Aren't you, Durgan? I love you, man, but aren't you a mountain dwarf? Isn't this your bread and butter?
These aren't mountains. This is a blasted place. It's like the stone itself has absorbed this vile ichor. It's not natural. I can't read it. I can't feel it. It's vexing me, boy.
Dice, you got to take his word for it. I know exactly what he means. This isn't anything that us dwarves are used to.
And I think what I would do if I could, I would use, I don't know. I don't want to like cheesily use stone cutting, but I almost want to use it to see what I think is wrong with the place. Does that make sense? Like almost what seems the most unnatural to try to catch the reasoning of these things?
Yeah, if you want to give me, what is it, perception or knowledge history with the stone cunning?
Yeah, that's what I'll do.
Okay. I think it's history with stone cunning, right?
I don't remember actually.
I think it's advantage on
It's
history.
history.
Yeah, advantage on history
It's
checks.
history.
Yeah. Thank you, Juice.
I
was
am
playing
actually
Pathfinder last night, and stone cunning is +2 to perception, so I'm like, ugh.
perfect. Well, I'm super using. I don't know if you can see this.
Speaking of history,
I'm using my
Nice,
inspiration.
Juice. That was a good one.
Yes. All right. Nat 19.
There you go.
I have no modifiers to anything like that.
So you're kind of standing in the middle of this room, Durgan, this room with this just horrific chain trap that just ripped this elf apart. And you're looking at the worn surfaces of this thing, and you say, or you think, like some sort of war happened here. There came a certain point when the trolls that live down here divided. You know that there are green trolls, and that there are red trolls, and that there are rumors that in the far north there are even blue trolls. But you know that at one point they were one race. And you're looking at the stone, and you're seeing the scratch marks, you're seeing the damage from weapons, from you're seeing scorch marks from fire, and you realize something terrible happened here, and something terrible is continuing to happen here. Blood is being shed in a inordinate amount. This place is just vile in its energy. It is just a bad place, and you know that bad places exist in the world, and this is just a place not meant to be tread by good people.
So as I'm feeling all of this, I feel like what I would be doing is humming sort of a stone rift kind of ditty, something from back in the days of old when we were first carving some of the bolt throwing tunnels, and when I was a boy and helping out with some of the expansions and things, we were taught how to read stone, how to look at rock, and let the rock tell you what it needs to be and what face it has. And I start seeing these violent faces that you've described to me. I start seeing the rock, and the rock starts telling me that story, and I can clearly see, and I convey that to the others. I'm like, look where it's divided. See here, look. Okay, I see it. That was a fortification, and that's where a betrayal happened. You see the shape and the slash marks as it goes, and I start kind of realizing that there were two factions, and it sort of dawns on me. And could I tell? Yes, we're going deeper into this faction sort of side of things. Like, could I tell like where we're headed is the more evil, vile kind of direction?
Yeah, and the thing is that the whole place kind of feels like that. Like, clearly one faction is still here, but you get the sense that basically what you get is you are passing through the darkest part right now.
And I would convey that. I'd say, and I'd look right at Dice, and I'd say, thank you, boy. I figured it out. And I would point just in the direction of the darkness. Like, if we're in the deepest dark, I'd say, we need to keep going that way. We need to slay whatever stands in our way. Now let's get a move on.
And Dice would look at you almost confused, like, what did I do? But it's immediately, that emotion is immediately overtaken by the emotion of excitement. Like, let's go.
And Durgan would sort of march in shoulder to shoulder, kind of in league with Eridon and Brasswick. I would just start kind of moving. Like, more sure of myself now.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So you head down the hallway directly across from where you entered. So it would be the leftmost hallway. And you move down this corridor, and you see, after about another 30 minutes of walking, you come to a juncture, and if you look down, you see that there's a hallway that is collapsed in on itself. So you continue on, and eventually you see the hallway continues on and actually descends deeper. You see a stairwell going deeper, but off to your left you see two great stone doors that are sealed shut, and there are vines kind of across the door sealing it shut. And as you come around the corner and you look at this door, you see that the vines are actually moving. They are like kind of snaking over each other and tightening their grip on the door. And Erdon, you would notice as you come around the corner, you see something on the ground, and if you pick it up, you see that it's a chalice of bone, and it has elven writing on it. And this is a chalice that is used to make offerings to the Old One, and it's been dropped here recently.
This is elvish. It's used in our rituals. This is odd. What could be happening here? I guess. So you said there was a staircase off to the left.
So there's a staircase in front of you leading down, and there's these doors off to the left, and the chalice was in front of the doors.
Okay. Yeah, doesn't look like there's any way to get in here. Anyone have any ideas? Never seen anything like this.
And Durgan sort of just clasps the corruptor's face in his fist and says, "I've got some ideas."
By all means. And I step out of the way.
So Durgan is going to stupidly take a swing at this door. Like full double hands back, lightning bolt, like triple Thor, like just going for... So tell me, Matt, how much damage do I take?
Triple Thor.
No, so you rear back and you slam into the door, and as you do, the door sort of buckles forward, but then snaps shut as the vines sort of seal it up again. These vines are sort of just tightening around the doors and locking it up, so it's almost like if someone was on the other side of a door you're trying to open, and as you open it, they just kind of slam it shut again.
So I would say in succession, I'd probably do that 3 more times, just like, oh yeah, and and then finally be like, strong vines.
And actually, Durgan, you do it the second time, you do it the third time, and as the door kind of buckles open, an arrow flies out of the door and sinks into your shoulder. And Erdon, you see the green fletching of that arrow, and you know it's an arrow of Shade Vale. And Durgan, you take 4 piercing damage.
Durgan!
And I would...
They're gonna pay!
I'd say, trolls be damned!
Sorry, I was muted there. I was trying to talk. I would like not care about Durgan at all at this point. I'd kind of shove him out of the way, and I'd go up to the door. Mir, Larawise, and I'd be just pounding on the door, hoping that they might be able to hear me.
And you hear a very familiar voice, Erdon, say, "Erdon, is that you?"
Yes, it's me. What's going on?
The vines immediately recede from the door, and the doors kind of slide open, and you see before you a great throne room, and there's a few hundred elves in here, and you see there's about 30 watchers with bows drawn just aimed at the door, and you see Mir, and he's standing there and his arm is in his sling and there's blood trickling into his stone eye, and Larawise is standing beside him, and she has her hands out willing the vines to recede from the door.
Hmm. And as she's doing this, I would drop my sword and just go back up. I would walk over to her quickly, and you guys would never have seen me show real affection for anyone, but I would take her in my arms.
Yeah, you go and pick her up, and Mir says, "Lower your bows. Lower your bows. Get that door resealed. Come inside now. Get in. Get in."
And Dice would do so.
And as the Provokers enter the throne room, the Watchers immediately move forward and close the doors and put their backs to them to secure them. And while Eridon is hugging his sister, Mir approaches the rest of you and he says, "I don't know how you came to find us, but I don't think I've ever been happier to see you. And I say that with full certainty."
Stone Eye, you didn't double cross us.
He looks at you, Durgan, just like, he's like, why would I double cross you?
You just seem pretty shady up there. I mean, you gotta admit, I didn't know you, you didn't know me, I threatened to eat your eye, but I'm really happy to see you too, and I never thought I would hear myself say that.
Yes, well, tell me, what, I see that the matron is not with you. And you see on his face, like, he knows, but he's just looking for confirmation.
I think I would look at Eridon and kind of lower my head.
Yeah, and I would let go of Larawise, and I would look at her, and I would look at Mir, and I would say, yes, that's one way of saying it. She sacrificed herself for her people as a true leader. Mir, you are the one who is left.
Mir hangs his head, and a lot of the elves that are around begin weeping openly. The Watchers sort of hang their heads solemnly as they secure the door. And Mir says, "She was as fine a matron as Shade Vale has ever known. She died so that we all could live.
She didn't go down easy.
No, I can't imagine that she did."
We'll have our revenge.
Do you know who struck the killing blow?
There were orc bodies littering the floor. It was Brokejaw and his crew. We took care of him.
Brokejaw, the lieutenant of Highvall Blackbone?
He's finally dead.
Thank the Old One. He has been a thorn in our side for much too long.
That I know. And I would kind of now turn my attention back to Larawise, and I would say, I'm sorry. I never should have left. I've missed you.
She says, Eridon, where's father? Is he with you?
No, he went north. It was north, right, Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's looking for things that can help you. How are you? Are you ill?
And Mir kind of steps in and says, The air in here is doing her no favors, Erdon. And we left too quickly. She has none of her medicine.
I would, yeah, I can't remember what the troll gave me. I wrote it down here somewhere, but
Yeah, he gave you some
something
herbs, yeah.
Yeah. So I would say, I don't know what to do with these, but these are supposed to help. And I would kind of look around. Anyone? Do you know?
Mir sort of looks at them and says, I am familiar with the herbs. I believe if we steep them in hot water, they will help her cough. She is vital to the survival of our tribe, Erdon.
I heard that from a young elf. Kenneth. You know him?
Yes, he served under me. I sent him out with the rest of the scouting party. They live?
No. He died on our way here to finding you. We also met a troll. A blood troll.
Yes.
We took one down, but Kenneth tells us there are more. This is not safe. We must keep Larawise safe. And you must live to lead.
It is not my place to lead. Shade Vale has always been ruled by the matrons. I will serve my duty and protect our people. But Larawise should be our next matron when she comes of age.
She was just a girl when I left.
She is still a girl, but this is no time for children to be children. She must grow up and serve, as we all do.
Right. And and what do we do now? How do we must get you out of here. Are you armed? And I kind of look around at the crew here, the 300 elves.
We are a little over 300 strong, around less than an eighth of the city in total. We have several dozen watchers who are willing and able to fight, but there is something blocking our path to the south, Erdon. A large troll. My watchers say he has many limbs and 2 heads. They've taken to calling him Deadhead, for apparently one of his heads lolls to the side like a skull.
I kind of look at the my provoker brethren and nod to them. You know, well, looks like our friend was right.
Erdon, can I talk to you for a second?
Yes.
Like in private?
What is it? What is it? And I would walk over to you.
And I would pull him aside as much out of earshot as I could of anybody else. And I would say, is this the same tribe that banished your father?
This is them.
I mean, I know you got to look out for your sister, and I know that you got to look out for you and yours, but I mean, that's a lot of loyalty for someone that disregarded your family.
It was misunderstanding. One that I was guilty in as well. I still... My father, he spoke to the trolls. He went behind his people's back. He had his reasons. I understand them now, but my people... That's just it. My people.
They're your people, and I I completely understand. I just don't want to see anybody disregard you. And I kind of pat you on the shoulder and...
They seem to value my sister. That makes me glad.
She seems powerful, and you seem surprised.
I know nothing of her power. This is all new to me. It's been quite a homecoming. But we need to get you home too eventually. And I kind of wiped the little misty eyes away.
And I push you away, like, bro.
While Eridon and Dice are having their little moment over there, Mir kind of has these herbs that you had, Eridon, and he hands them off to somebody to get them brewing. And he looks after the two of you, and he's looking at Dice with this stone eye of his, and his eyes kind of narrow slightly, and he looks at Durgan and Brasswick, and he says, "Your friend Dice, a suspicious person. Very untrusting."
He is discerning. Oh, sorry. Wait, you're not talking to me, are you?
This conversation is happening while you're talking to Dice, but you can yell it
Yeah,
across the
sorry.
room if you want. He's discerning.
It's discerning!
He's just discerning.
Sorry.
It's kind of cool. He's cool. You gotta know him.
No, but he specifically says this to the dwarves. No, dude, no problem.
I think Durgan would sort of look at Brasswick like no pun intended, but like trolling this guy. Like, really? I hadn't noticed.
Don't worry, Stone Eye. He's got his reasons, and his heart's in the right place. He's just looking out for his friends.
Right.
Besides, you say you were untrusting, but what's that eye of yours doing over there? If there's nothing to hide, then why you gotta go poking around in people's heads? That's what makes him untrusting.
Because your friend Dice is looking out for 3 friends. I'm looking out for 300 friends, Master Dwarf.
Well, it's a fair point.
And he kneels down beside Eridon's sister and he says, "Mirwise, it sounds like we're going to be leaving soon. You should drink your tea and rest up while you can. We're going to get you out of here. We're going to keep you safe." And she nods. And at this point, Eridon and Dice have sort of finished up their conversation.
Durgan would turn to Brasswick and say, "I take back everything I said. I'm not happy to see him anymore."
I don't blame you. I get a weird feeling about him.
About who now? And I kind of rejoin.
Eridon! Welcome back. Hope your
Yeah.
little chat went well.
Apparently it was something about Dice, and is Dice there now too?
Yeah.
So Dice, I would look at you and I'd say, "Old Stone Eye was using his hoodoo, and apparently thinks you don't trust everybody. But don't worry, we kind of, put him in his place."
Oh, neat. He's and he looks at Stone Eye and he says, "Wait, he could tell that by looking at me?" and he kind of ponders a little bit and says, "Hmm. No, I know this trick. I know this spell. He has eyes."
Yeah, he has a stone eye. Duh. Look at him.
Yeah, it's weird looking.
Durgan said he wanted to eat it.
Remember?
Yeah, I know. I was saying that he's perceptive, like he could. Never mind.
Oh,
Okay.
little half elf joke. I gotcha.
Yeah. Ah, funny.
He's got ears too.
Big pointy ones.
Hey, I look. Dice looks to Erdon and just like he doesn't say anything, but he's just like these freaking guys.
Yeah, he's.
And then Durgan would say, he would really just go, oh, but seriously, he doesn't trust you at all.
And Mir is sort of like, he's over sort of talking with some of the Watchers, and he comes back over, and he has this look on his face like he knows that you guys were just talking about him, but he's not going to say anything. And he says, the large troll is indeed blocking our path to the south, and many of these people are not warriors. But you four are, and I am willing to commit some of the Watchers to your service if you need them. And he kind of gets real for a second with you guys, and his face softens a little bit. You four have already done much for the city of Shade Vale, despite 3 of you never being here before, and 1 of you being little better than an exile. I know we have asked much of you, but I ask one more thing. And as de facto ruler of Shade Vale, if you get me and my people out of the troll tunnels alive, we will fight for you. We will fight the Corruptor and his army.
Dice's eyes go wide, and all of the mistrust, everything in one fell swoop, just washes to the floor.
Yeah, my body kind of tenses for a moment. It's almost as like inwardly I'm doing a sort of thing.
Brasswick kind of speaks up and he says, "We'll all fight for each other."
For the survival of this world.
And that's the first little phrase that Durgan hears. He's been staring really intently at Mir like this. And if Mir was listening, he's been going, Mir smells like a troll. Mir smell like he's trying to shoot it into his eye. And then when Erdon says, you know, this world, you know, it's for the safety of the entire world, Durgan's like, hmm? And kind of like snaps to and realizes that something important must have just happened.
Brasswick he knows exactly what's going on over here. And he's just shaking his head like, oh my gosh, Durgan. Can't go anywhere with you.
So what say you, Erdon Swifthand?
I say it's time to clear a path.
That's what I was hoping you'd say. How many men do you need to take down a particularly large, particularly nasty troll?
I don't know. I would say 6 should allow us to move swiftly enough and quietly enough that, well, forget the quiet part and I look at the dwarves. Anyway, half a dozen should be good.
Half a dozen watchers. They're yours. I'll pick 6 of my best.
Good.
You should rest, if you can, for a bit, and say any goodbyes you might have in case some or all of us don't meet on the other side.
Right. And I look over to Larawise, and I would probably walk over to say, well, we would probably rest a little bit first and lick our wounds. But I would still walk that direction, probably. Sling my pack down, have a seat, and say, let's patch our wounds, boys.
So you guys are taking another short rest. So any hit dice that you didn't use on that first short rest, you can use on this one to regain HP.
Strangely, Dice is looking like just looking better than anybody else in the group, even after his beating last night. Filled with energy and hit points.
All right. Yeah, so I imagine we're just kind of eating some rations, perhaps sharing with some of the elves if they have need. Yeah.
Yeah, and they definitely left in a hurry, so particularly the Watchers take you up on that offer as they need to keep their strength up.
Mm.
And while you're resting, Erdon, Larawise comes over and she's holding like this stone goblet full of steaming liquid, and she's drinking it, and whenever she takes a sip, she gets this face like... And she takes another drink.
It's good stuff, right?
Not at all.
It will help. You remember it. Father used to give it to you.
Yes. Yes, he did. And it always did help.
And to Mother.
And to Mother.
Mm.
It didn't help her as much, but I think she was worse off than I am.
You will survive.
I hope so.
No, there's no doubt. And, yeah, I guess I would just kind of put my arm around her and I would say, we're leaving soon, but I'll be back. We're going to take care of our little troll problem.
Very well. You'll come back, though?
Of course. I have new friends. They see to that.
Yes, they seem quite capable. Although, and she looks to Durgan and says, I think this one was asleep last time we saw each other, though.
Yes.
Very well, Erdon. Well, I will see to it that the door stays shut. That's been my job since we got here.
And you did it admirably.
Thank you.
Someday you'll have to tell me all that I've missed. And I'm kind of thinking about those vines and all that I've heard here. But some other time.
Yes, some other
There's
time
work
I'll
to
tell
do.
you all about it. And Mir approaches, and you see he has his eye out, and he's rubbing it with a cloth, and he sticks it back in, and you see it kind of swivel around in his eye, and then he blinks a couple times, and he says, Are you ready?
Durgan, did you see that?
Yeah, just creeps me out.
And when you say that, Durgan, Mir kind of looks at you and he says, "Sorry to creep you out, but I promise you I don't smell like a troll."
And Durgan is so happy that it worked. He's like, like the face of, I put that in your head. I win.
What was that about, Durgan?
Oh, I'm a psychic.
Really? I didn't know that.
I'll tell you some other time.
Yeah, you're gonna have to teach me that one.
It's easy around old Stoneface here. But I am ready to go. Joking aside.
Mir says, "I've selected 6 of my best to accompany you. 2 of these men helped take down a troll in our flight into this room. So they have experience."
Good. All right. Let's be off.
I wish you luck, Erdon, and I can't imagine saying this, but I do hope that we meet again, and soon.
Me as well. Keep my sister safe.
I will. I promise.
So what do you guys say we go kill some deadhead?
Aye.
Can you really kill something that's already dead, though?
You're the cleric.
I mean, you don't kill it, you just destroy it.
Well, it's got one dead head, so we kill the other one, so it's half dead head.
Mm-hmm.
Double deadhead?
Sounds good to me.
Dwarves and math.
Ugh. Just bring your torches, you fools.
I got clothes.
So
Those will do too.
the 6 watchers that Mir recommended, they're standing and waiting for you at the door. They have their bows and their swords at the ready. They nod at you, Erdon, as you approach.
Let's be off.
Of course.
So Durgan would take a quick moment to sort of sit down, and he just carefully works out his alchemist's fire. And he uncorks the top of it. And you see him, take this other little canteen, and he sort of just pours the liquid inside the alchemist's fire. And then he just kind of like puts the cap back on and gently puts it back in his sack. And then just, it's ready to go.
I'm concerned about what just happened.
A little bit.
But I'm just going to let it ride. Okay, so you guys set off. The stone doors open and then close behind you, and you see the vines snake back into place as Larawise seals the room. And you set off down the corridor. The watchers kind of tell you, "We last saw him down this way. He's a big son of a bitch. Bigger than we've ever seen. About as big as a mastodon, actually. You really think we can take him down?"
If we can't take him down, we'll just climb up him.
Climb up a troll. Yeah, right.
I've seen it happen.
You gotta take the fight to their level sometimes.
I'm glad you're confident.
This one is
I have faith.
surprisingly good at taking a ride. So, we'll see. All right.
So you continue down this corridor, down through the darkness. The stairs descend deeper and deeper into the troll tunnels. You see these same strange black plants that look like spiders in the darkness, ready to just spring out at you. And as you go down these stairs, the stench of the troll just gets stronger and stronger, and you see the watchers pull their cloaks up over their mouths and noses, just, oh, damn, By the old one, that smells. Oh. And you continue down this corridor, and eventually you come to this this large rectangular room set with these big giant pillars, and a couple of the pillars are collapsed and fallen over with rubble, and you see that portions of the ceiling have collapsed in, and the Watchers enter the room with their bows, arrows knocked, and they're checking everywhere. This is where he was. Should we spread out?
Yes, but not too far. And yeah, I would say you go that way. Point to three of them. You three go that way, and then the Provokers. We would maybe say you three hang close with me, and we would start, I guess, kind of exploring this area here.
So you
lead the way.
You move down this long, gigantic room with the pillars, and the Watchers occasionally will check in with whistles. You just hear, just letting each other know that clear over here, and eventually you hear, and then nothing off to your left. And then you hear screaming from the left. You hear pounding of feet. And from around the pillar you see two Watchers running. Their faces just pale with fear as they're just charging towards you. They're dropping their weapons as they run. And around the corner comes a troll, probably 15 feet tall, twice the size of the one that you fought in the other room. This troll has 3 arms, 2 where they should be, and one just kind of sprouting from its chest, just this mutated, shriveled arm. And it has a proper head, but there's like a second one hanging off of it that is just rotted and decayed, the flesh just falling off of it. And it looks like at one point this troll's head was almost severed, but not quite, and a new one grew up out of the neck and left that dead head just hanging there. And this troll comes charging around the corner, and it grabs one of the Watchers in its little shriveled arm, grabs the top half with one of its good arms, and rips the Watcher in half, just, and guts just spray everywhere. And the other Watcher runs past you guys, and the troll just looks at you with its beady red eyes. And that's where we're going to end the session.
Damn it.
You knew it was coming. We're coming up on 4 hours, baby.
You got me, Matt. You got me with, he's a big son of a bitch. You totally got me with it.
He is, man.
I know.
He is a big son of a bitch.
Dude, that was an awesome session, man. That was fun.
Thanks,
That
man.
was.
It's fun to do a little dungeon delve. We haven't done one of those in a long time, so
Exactly.
yeah, that was a lot of fun. And great role play, guys. And man, that was a really, really good session. Everyone did an awesome job.
Yeah,
I
that
can't
was
wait
great.
to play again.
Cool.
Totally.
Fine, we're playing tomorrow.
Yeah. I like
I'm in.
Can't wait.
I like Michael Costa's comment. Matt's gonna mix it up. You come across the bad guys, they're already dead, the world is saved, and the game is ended.
GG, world.
GG, yeah.
GG world.
Wait, why is everyone saying GG Ben? Oh, there's about to be a
where's
huge
Ben?
cliffhanger, is what he says, and everyone's like, yep.
Yep.
Awesome.
Nice.
Matt, could I give a quick plug for BrigadeCon?
Oh, absolutely you can, man. Go for it.
Yeah, so this is the last session before BrigadeCon, everybody. Well, probably. We haven't decided our next time yet.
Yeah,
but
I think it's
anyway.
actually definitely going to be the last session before BrigadeCon.
Nate, what's BrigadeCon?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Juice. BrigadeCon is an online gaming convention in which people get together and play tabletop role-playing games just like we are right here. And yeah, so there's going to be panels, there's going to be games. It's October 10. Go to brigadecon.org. I know that Matt and Barker are going to be part of a Roll Up and Die panel, right, guys?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I hope that's public knowledge and I'm not spoiling anything.
Nope. Yeah, that's public knowledge.
Nate!
Okay.
No!
Yeah, I'm gonna be in a couple panels, I think, and I'm gonna be playing in a
Nobody-
couple games too.
Nate, nobody is supposed to know they're doing a panel, okay? Gosh.
Everyone
You
forget
ruined
what
it.
you heard. It's a dinosaur lasagna panel.
Yes. Nothing going on at BrigadeCon. Don't check out that mysterious, non-existent panel.
So yeah, I think there are still slots available in some games perhaps, and lots of panels. I'm running a panel, I'm running a game, and it's all for charity, Child's Play. I think most people out there probably know about it already, but just in case, brigadecon.org. Yeah, go give some money to kids who need games, sick kids in hospitals mainly, and yeah.
There's a lot of slots available. I think Samuel was looking for some players for his game. I think it's a Fate game. And there was a couple other people recently that were looking for players.
Yeah, I saw some posts in the one-shot group about that, so yep.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be great. I'm very excited. Last year I didn't get to play in any games, and this year I'm gonna play in a couple. So I'm pretty excited about that. I think Barker and I are playing in a game together too. So
I do think so.
Nice. Yep.
Yeah, in fact, Mike LeChan was just talking about that, and he was going over his notebooks because he plays in our Iron Heart of Innis game. And he was just like, after the game, he was flipping through this notebook. He's like, look at all these notes. He's like, I got Barker and Matt playing in my game. I got to prep for these guys.
Oh, jeez.
And I told him, I said, you know what? They're really good players, so they will take whatever you throw at them and sort of weave it together.
Yep.
So I said, don't be nervous. Just be ready to collaborate.
yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. I'm
Be
pretty
ready
excited
for us to
about that.
take over your shit, Michael Lesham. We're taking it
else.
down.
Don't plan anything, because they'll
You
just
don't-
run all over it.
Yeah, I was
exactly.
going to say, don't prep anything and let them make your world. Make your game. No, I'm just kidding. And whoever else is in your game, too.
Guys, I love you. I love the Provokers. You're my big dream. You're my high hope. I love every single one of you, but the Seattle Seahawks fucking need me right now, okay?
Hey, get out of here,
So
Barker.
I am
Yeah,
leaving.
they do.
Yep.
I was with you up until that last part, then you lost. Oh.
I knew he was
Go,
leading
Mark.
into it, but I'm leaving
Yeah, me too.
because he was laying it on too thick.
Yeah. Right.
Go,
I'll
Is
Mark.
talk to
that
you guys later.
another D&D group, or what is
Go
the
Hawks.
Go
Yes,
Hawks.
go Hawks.
See
Hey,
you, Barks.
Beat the
Gods-
Packers.
Godspeed, blah.
Godspeed, blah. Anyway, okay.
Oh, so glad
So-
we got rid of that sports.
Yeah, dude. Now we can actually
You didn't get rid of
some real
sports on
gaming,
here.
and you guys want to play some more? Or?
Sports talk with me.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'll play
Juice.
some.
Juice, don't you have to catch the end of your wrestling thing?
No, that was at a friend's house.
Ah.
I stayed home to do this.
Alright,
I
well,
appreciate that, Juice.
Super appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and call it here. Thank you, everyone, for tuning
You
in.
better
We
have
had a
missed
great
out on
turnout
barbecue.
tonight, and we had the chat was just blowing up. So that's pretty awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed the chat. If it's something that you guys enjoyed, we will continue doing it. And yeah, again, go to absolutetabletop.com and pick up the Wayward Wanderer PDF. It is pay what you want right now, so it's totally free if you want it free. Link is down below in the description. And go to brigadecon.org and sign up for BrigadeCon. So two awesome things that you can go do right now after the game. The fun doesn't have to stop here. All right, so we're going to real quick just do our sign-offs. I'll do Barker's. Hey, everyone, I'm Barker. I run the channel Be a Better Game Master. And, yeah. Okay, Nate, you're up.
WASD20 on YouTube, WASD20.net on the interwebs. And yeah, it's been fun, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll see you again soon.
All right, Juicy.
No, Juice. I was
Okay.
wrong.
Tabletop Gaming with Juice on YouTube. RPGjuice.com is the website. And stay tuned because some stuff is in the works.
And I am Tim with Tabletop Terrors. I'll take a second to plug these guys. Matt just did a really cool video about the lore of Aeronoth, one of my favorites to date, so go check that out on A Fistful of Dice. Nate has been doing some killer mapping videos. If you're missing out on this, you're missing out on learning how to map. And he also did a really good Q&A that you can put on in the background. It's awesome. Juice has been making more videos that are just this sort of creative side of him that I really love. So if you haven't checked out Juice's channel in a while, go and watch like the last 3 videos at least. And if you're a football fan, he's doing some Michigan stuff. So as always, may your dice roll high.
Absolutely. And I will just say for me, I am going on a 2-week road trip here in 3 days, which I'm very excited about. So there isn't going to be another big video for me before then, but I'm going to be filming little snippets here and there and uploading them throughout the trip, just talking about here's what I'm seeing, here's the inspiration I'm taking for RPGs, and just kind of talking about getting out there and soaking up all the inspiration that you can and utilizing them in every facet of your games and your prep and your world building and all of that. So that should be pretty fun. So again, guys, thank you for tuning in and catching us play tonight. We're going to play again very soon. And as always, may your pizzas be hot and ready, and may the bones in your dinosaur lasagna always just be sticking right out of there.